Tonight, we're jumping back into the dark side of TikTok, and what I found will make you question everything. Welcome back, family. Before the video starts, I just want to thank all my channel members for support. We're around 2.5 thousand off of 100K. Hopefully, by the end of this video, I earn y'all subscriptions so we can hit 100K before the end of the year. Let's go.
Walking out there would actually kill you.
I don't know about you guys, but to me, this literally looks like an active war zone with mortars and mines going off, but this is actually just weather. This is a viral no context video that I got tagged in. This person's recording a field. We can see splashes of water that look similar to explosions, and we hear some loud impact sounds that you could mistake for gunfire. In reality though, this whole entire video, this whole ordeal was caused by ice, hail to be specific. When you think about dangerous weather, you're going to think about tornadoes or hurricanes, but hailstorms can and have been just as deadly. For example, one of the deadliest hailstorms on record occurred back in India in 1888, resulting in the deaths of 250 people. Small hail, no problem, but larger pieces can reach speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour, meaning they can break windows, go through windshields, and if they fall on your head, cause skull fractures and death. So really, don't underestimate the power of a golf ball-sized piece of ice falling thousands of feet.
Amazing role models like the assassin J.D. Vance, our vice president. And when I say that,
trust me, there's nothing new under the sun that I have not heard, so you're fine. Yes, we did. I love you. I love you. You have to laugh about it, truly, because if the internet wants to clip it, who cares? I love this woman. She's an amazing woman. She has a soul and a heart for the Lord.
Yo, when I saw this clip, this was one of the most ironic clips I've seen in my existence. Because I remember literally Charlie Kirk complaining about how Nicki Minaj is not good for society and how he doesn't like what she promotes. But then yet his wife, Erica Kirk, goes on to do an interview with Nicki Minaj talking about how she's an amazing person, she loves her, she loves everything she does. So it's this really weird irony. And I'm gonna see if I can throw in a clip that literally exposes this moment.
Right now, black culture is being held captive by influences, songs, and role models. I mean, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B.
Okay, Nicki Minaj is causing dads to leave the home.
Hold on a second. I don't think that's a good role model for 18-year-old black girls. I don't think that songs that are talking about like glorifying wet female genitalia is exactly, I don't know which one wrote that song. Which one was it?
I think it was Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but by the way, the role models of the 1940s and 50s for black America were completely different.
So it is a representation issue.
Hold on a second. No, not representation. It's who do you get your art from? It's what values are they putting forward? It's the question of every day, for example, more times than not, black politicians will lament the condition of America. It's systemically racist. It's terrible. What does that do to a 14-year-old black kid if you just find that you hear that everything is rigged against you? Instead, they should be saying, hey, there might be some barriers, but if you believe in yourself enough, you can achieve it.
Ever wonder what hot dogs really are? This is where everything that couldn't be sold as meat ends up. This isn't beef. This isn't chicken. This is mechanically separated meat parts. Pretty gross, right? These nasty machines grind animal remnants until there's no structure left, making a slimy paste of thousands of different animals' DNA. Once the meat loses its identity, chemistry takes over. We add chemicals to make these things last forever. At this point, it's no longer food, just a disgusting, toxic protein paste. But as long as it tastes good, you don't care, right? Shape is added last. We make it look appetizing to trick you all into thinking it's something good. The joke's on you. That's not what meat looks like. That's what deception looks like. Still want some?
There's a saying I live by that says ignorance is bliss. And what's funny to me is that like I loved hot dogs until I really knew how they were made. There's a lot of things that I've eaten, and once I knew how they were made, I just never ate them again.
Jake Paul got knocked out by Anthony Joshua this past Friday night. And so I want to break this down from a medical perspective. I'm a neurosurgeon with over 25 years of experience. And so, you know, what happens is when you get hit in the head with that kind of force, like in boxing, our brain actually moves inside our skull and it can bump into the skull. which is a firm structure and can cause bruising of the brain, even bleeding, but it causes repeated trauma to the brain. And over years and years of this happening, people can get what's called chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE syndrome. And it's almost like a disease, because with repeated trauma to the brain, and that can lead to memory problems, mood swings, even trouble with movements, and eventually people can develop dementia, like Alzheimer's disease and even Parkinson's disease.
Dude, I'm pretty sure Jake Paul ran up $500 million already from boxing. So in my opinion, he should just take the L that he got from Anthony Joshua and just quit and just, you know what I'm saying, spend his money in Dubai or something.
You think about, and I'm sure you get asked about, why didn't the Biden administration release those files? Was that something that they felt would look bad while they're running against this guy, or why didn't they come out during your administration?
To give you an answer that will not satisfy your curiosity, I will tell you, we, perhaps to our damage, but we strongly and rightly believed that there should be an absolute separation between what we wanted as an administration and what the Department of Justice did. We absolutely adhered to that, and it was right to do that. The Justice Department would make its decisions independent of any political or personal vendetta or concern that we may have. And that's the way it worked.
All right, we're going to...
Yeah, new things came out about the Epstein files. This weekend, if I do have the time for it, I'm going to try to do another Epstein files deep dive.
This one's in Thailand.
You've been to Thailand before.
Have you?
Beautiful over there.
Beautiful, beautiful. What comes with the island? There's a small villa there. You could practically build what you want.
There's building space.
Yeah, there's.
Did the island come with the children, or the children imported after?
This island does have a small school. There are children.
Okay, so I don't know if that was
Yeah,
what countries are near to a from?
Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, Vietnam,
Philippines.
The Philippines.
Oh, of course.
The Filipinos, you know, if they're not being a nurse, they're being your crew. Okay, so.
So true.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
What age ranges?
Below 10, I don't really.
That is wild. I'm actually kind of hoping that's AI, but I don't think it is.
How well do you remember the year 2020? Because a lot of people don't remember a bunch of major events that happened that year. A lot of people mention that 2020 feels like a big dream. There's a theory called the 2020 effect, and the isolation due to the pandemic has caused a lot of people to just forget about 2020 entirely. A lot of people hardly remember having to wear face masks everywhere we went. The toilet paper hoarding, and the extreme price gouging on hand sanitizer. A lot of people don't remember the monoliths, George Floyd, and the BLM protests, the mystery seeds that were received in Texas, or the Subway yoga mat sandwiches. A lot of people don't remember ever being on edge as we waited for that asteroid to possibly hit Earth, Mike Lindell's meltdown over the 2020 election, the invasion of the murder hornets, or the fire NATO. Many of these events have people scratching their heads. Or they kind of remember these things happening, but it didn't feel like it was 4 years ago. 2020 was a year to remember, but a lot of people can't even do that.
They watched as the plane's engines cut out one by one until all four were dead, leaving it gliding silently at 37,000 feet. You see, a cloud of volcanic ash had been blown high into the sky from an eruption, and since it wasn't a normal cloud, it didn't show up on the plane's radar. When it entered the engines, the heat melted it into glass. That glass clogged the turbines and shut down all four engines. Meaning for 15 minutes, the pilot could only glide as the plane dropped thousands of feet, with everyone on board believing they were going to die. But as the plane dropped lower, it finally left the cloud, and the glass began to break off the engines, allowing the pilots to restart all four. The plane landed safely, saving every life on board.
Dude, that's a good story. I thought they were clipped too. I thought they were dunzos. My thing is, bro, we need to find a way to put the plane engine inside the plane or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to stop these birds and all these like little things getting in the engine and messing it up. Like, a car engine is in the hood, you know what I'm saying? So like, we should find a way to put a plane engine somewhere where it can't really be affected by stuff like that.
The man you see in this video is not a real UPS driver. He's wearing a UPS uniform to make the family believe he is delivering a package so that he can force his way into the home. In this case, two men came to the house pretending to make a delivery. The oldest son, who was 20 years old, came outside. That is when two men forced their way into the home. In this clip, you can actually see one of the suspects wave a third suspect inside. Inside the home were the mother, the father, and two toddlers. The mother, the father, and the 20-year-old son. The two toddlers were left alive. There are many devastating moments in this case. One that hasn't left my mind is the portion of the video where the younger toddler walks up and sees the mother deceased on the ground and starts screaming. The older toddler runs in and pulls the younger toddler away. And at that age, they obviously don't understand fully everything that's happening, but they know enough to understand something is seriously wrong. And that older toddler knew enough that they needed to get their sibling out of the situation. Court filings showed that allegedly one of the victims was involved in drug trafficking, and the suspects may have believed that there would be drugs or money inside. One individual identified in court records as Mingo was located about an hour later after being pulled over by the police. Reports say that Mingo initially arrived in a blue Altima and that car was registered to him. Court filings also show that Mingo was a former UPS employee, which is how he had access to the uniform. When he was stopped, officers found the UPS uniform in a backpack. His fingerprints were also found on a box inside of the home. He has been convicted and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The two other individuals you see in the video were also convicted and are expected to be sentenced in January of 2026.
I've heard about that UPS thing yesterday, and I didn't watch the video, but I know that there's a video out about it, and I've heard it was one of the most disturbing and messed up videos. So I don't recommend you guys seeking it out, but if you have already seen it, you know what I'm saying, let me know your thoughts about that.
Event of a nuclear attack, these would be the most irradiated parts of the United States. In this scenario, a certain part of the country is dedicated to be a sacrifice. These are the American sponge states. Located in the Great Plains and running right up against the Rocky Mountains, states from Montana to Missouri have nuclear silos. These nuclear silos aren't just for striking an enemy. They are also positioned a few miles apart, deep underground, encased in concrete. Why would you protect the missile silos in this scenario? Well, the whole idea is that you need a bunch of nuclear missiles to strike these silos just to take them out. If an enemy were to bomb the United States, it would need to dedicate a lot of its ordnance just to striking these nuclear missile silos. Of course, that would totally devastate all of these states. But you would need a few nukes each just to destroy the silos that are built to launch our missiles. That's why it's a nuclear sponge, built to sustain a blow of hundreds or even thousands of nuclear strikes, and as a result, hopefully sparing other parts of the country. But even in this event, it's not going to make a decisive impact. It may reduce the damage a little bit, but wide swaths of the country will still be completely wasteland. It's basically a way of edging out a marginally less bad final situation.
Yo, watch this slow-mo clip of Jake Paul getting his jaw broken. So he got hit once right there, and then boom, that's the one. We got a second slow-mo clip coming up. Jake Paul, he needed to bite down on his mouth guard, but he was too tired. He was mouth breathing. His jaw literally gets bent around his face. I didn't even think this was physically possible for his jaw to end up on the other side of his face. Everybody said that this was a Christmas miracle, that this is what they wanted for Christmas and that they got it.
I know for a fact that man woke up with the meanest headache, dude.
Did you guys hear they just announced that the air quality in California is officially unhealthy after its parts per million of particulate matter reached a certain threshold that now they're suggesting you stay indoors and close your windows? And if you're elderly or young or have any lung thing going on, you should not be outside. Now, the strange thing about this, and someone correct me in the comments, but they're saying it's a totally natural fog because of winter and the temperature change in the ground versus the air and all that. But then why would it be like toxic? I guess that's because the particulates that are coming off the cities anyway and all the pollution in general, but is staying in place as opposed to, dissipating. But this is a big deal, man. They're warning people. And apparently, according to this guy, it says, Gerald DePalta told Daily Mail that he and his family have been coughing and experiencing congestion for a week. Like, people aren't feeling well. This reminds me of when it was smoky as hell when I was in Edmonton and there was a crazy wildfire. But this isn't wildfire smoke. Yeah, okay. During these fog events, temperature inversions can trap car exhaust and industrial pollutants near the ground, potentially worsening air quality and causing respiratory irritation. Now, I do wonder if any of this foggy stuff is coming from other places, but I cannot confirm. Now, this guy wiped his car with his finger and it had a white dust. And what they say is natural radiation fog, which is not nuclear radiation, it's the radiation they're saying with the temperature change between the ground and the air during winter, is not known to leave a white residue, as it simply is a cloud at ground level consisting of millions of tiny pure water droplets. I'm not so sure it's too pure. That evaporate as the sun warms the air, but it hasn't evaporated. This is the weird thing. The residue could be due to dust, pollution, smoke, or chemical particles suspended in the air, which could be causing the mysterious health issues. Now, here's the crazy part. Do you remember the Northern California fires, specifically when a million, or let's say rather thousands, of houses burn? All the plastics, the PVCs, the chemicals, the freaking adhesives, everything went into the valley, and like the air was the probably most toxic it's ever freaking been, which is insane because they still have not cleaned up the Palisades. Well, maybe they have cleaned it up somewhat, but they left all these buildings that have been destroyed without dealing with them, when really you should treat it like an oil spill.
Wake up exactly at 3:17 a.m. and feel like your room is slightly wrong. Don't move right away. There's a reason people stay still. A few years ago, someone posted online about a phenomenon called the quiet shift. It's not sleep paralysis. It's not a dream. It happens when your brain wakes up a few seconds before reality does. According to the post, at 3:17 a.m., the house pauses. No ambient noises, no distant cars, no buzzing electricity. Even people who live in cities say it feels like the world briefly forgets them. That's when you're not supposed to move. Because if you do, you'll notice small things first. Your door might be open. When you always close it, your phone always will show the wrong date, usually years ahead, and the room will feel occupied. Not crowded, just accounted for. People who panic swear they hear breathing that matches theirs. Exactly. Not behind them, not beside them, but slightly delayed. Like an echo that learned how lungs work. The posts all say the same thing. Don't check the mirror. Don't check under the bed. And whatever you do, don't say anything out loud. Because the moment you acknowledge it, the quiet shift ends. Most people fall back asleep and wake up fine. But if you say that after the first time, the shift starts happening more often, earlier, longer, and eventually the room doesn't reset. The last post I read ended with one sentence. It finally moved.
Disturbing pictures, if you know, you know. The guy in the picture, his name is Timothy Treadwell, aka the Grizzly Man. During 1990 to 2003, he was getting so close to these bears that it caught the attention of everybody, because nobody was doing pictures like him. Even though his picture quality was kind of whack for the time, you know, it wasn't like National Geographic where like it was like close and like hella high definition. This was like really close but terrible quality. It got so much attention to the point where he eventually got sponsorships. So now he started recording himself doing all these things, and you could see how close he got to these animals.
The bear right next to me is Cracker, and she's enjoying a fish right now. I love you, Cracker. I do love you. She's my friend.
He started naming them, playing with the cubs. The weird thing is too is that grizzly bears are very protective over their cubs, especially mama bears, but they were letting him like rock. It wasn't until 2003 in his journal that they found later on, he started writing how the bears are acting not normal. So they're a little bit more food aggressive. It's because there's not that many berries around in the area. So they had to only rely on salmon. And one thing that he said is that every single time a bear eats a salmon, a fish, he usually leaves leftovers for the smaller bears to feed on. But during this season, they were not leaving anything behind. That's how hungry they were. He also started writing how close the bears were starting to get to his tent, to the point where he would not stop thinking about it, that he even got a nightmare that a bear ate him alive. How it was very real and how he felt it, which is kind of crazy because this foreshadows to what happens next. On September 26th, he wanted to finish this kind of like a documentary that he wanted to do, right? It was him and his girlfriend. He came across this bear, but he's never seen this bear before. Keep in mind, he's been going to the same exact spot for 13 years.
He attacked me. You attacked. And I was able to hold him off, not in any fisticuffs or clawed-cuffs, but just by being tough enough to stand up to him, and he did back down.
That's when, on October 4th, he calls Willie, his pilot. You're good to pick me up on the 6th, but just know that this is the best trip I ever had, and the footage that I have is the best footage that anybody's ever gonna see. 2 days pass, Willie comes, and he sees this weird bear. He can see the campsite, and it's still set up. Yeah. So he's kind of confused, and he's like, oh, maybe They forgot, they lost track of time. But then he sees the rib cage inside the bear's mouth, bro. Willie didn't really know what was going on. The only thing that he could assume is that it's probably Timothy or his girlfriend, right? He calls the authorities, the park rangers, right? They get to the spot a couple hours later. That's when they saw everywhere on the floor there was scattered organs, body parts. The bear that was making the cash spotted them, the park rangers. That's when he charged and was about to attack them. They ended up having to shoot the bear 10 times. They took whatever body parts they could find on the floor, and yeah, they confirmed that they had been mauled by a bear. And now a lot of people talk about audio. The audio has been not allowed to be seen by the public by one of the closest friends to Timothy, which her name is Jules. And there's a person who
anyone that's been to a zoo, they know that bear, mostly grizzly bears, are freaking huge. They're like ginormous. They look mad chill. Like, bears look really chill. They don't look too aggressive, but they can be super aggressive, mostly if they get hungry. That's kind of just like humans too. Like, if you were starving right now, you'd be 10 times more aggressive than if you're fully fed.
Is there a serial killer lurking in New York City? And why do I say that? Because recently, there's been over 6 bodies that have been found dumped in random locations all across New York City. And there has not been widespread news coverage on any of it. The latest body that was discovered and found deceased was found by a man in the Bronx in the Classen Point section. The body was floating in the water behind his property. Now keep this in the back of your mind. These bodies are all being found in the randomest of places. There was the decomposing body that was found in Coney Island. There were also body parts that were discovered in the Harlem area in Upper Manhattan. And there were also bodies found in Queens as well. And there hasn't been any updates tying any of them together by the NYPD. And that includes not even updating us on their identities as well. So the question should remain, why are they not telling us anything about what's going on? And if it does turn out that there is an alleged serial killer around New York City, why are they not alerting the public? And let me put this into perspective as well as to why some are believing that it is a serial killer. It's because the majority of the bodies that have been discovered and found are female. And that includes the one that was recently found in the Bronx in Classen Point. So once again, this has not been confirmed by anyone. But the bodies, if you go look up the stories, you'll find that they all were female. So it's kind of tying it all together and also putting it into a perspective. But we will wait and see until the authorities update us on any more details. If you're in the New York City area, just have your head on a swivel and be mindful of your surroundings. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments, and as always, I'd love to hear from you.
On November 14th, 2018, John Chow hired 2 fishermen to take him out to this little island in the Indian Ocean. The fishermen were not excited about this, not only because it was illegal to take him out to the island, but because the last time some fishermen had gone to this island, they had both died. But the fishermen needed the money, and so they went with John and they drove under the cover of darkness to this island, and they anchored a little ways offshore. The next morning when the sun came up, John asked the fishermen to take him in a little bit closer, but the fishermen refused. So John puts a kayak in the water and he begins paddling into this island. And as he gets close to the actual beach, he sees someone come out of the forest who has their face painted yellow, and they're screeching at the top of their lungs. And then a wave of people with yellow painted faces come charging out of the wood line and start firing arrows in his direction. So John, in a panic, turns around and paddles right back out to the fishing boat. Later that day, John tries to make another attempt at landing on this island and communicating with the people that live there. So he takes his kayak, he lands his kayak, he gets out, and the same group of people come out. They all start looking at each other and they start screeching and running down the beach towards John. John stands there until they come all the way up to him. They don't shoot him with arrows, but they take his kayak, and they don't really know what to make of him. They're staring at him, and they start speaking to each other in a language John doesn't understand. And then at some point, a child pulls his bow and arrow out and fires a bow directly at John. And he was holding a Bible, and he stopped the arrow with his Bible. And at that point, John is like, okay, I gotta go. And he jumps in the water, and without a kayak, has to swim a mile to get back to the fishing boat. The whole time, these people are firing arrows arbitrarily in his direction as he's swimming back out to the boat. And so the next day, on November 16th, he told the fishermen he wanted them to drop him off and he would swim in, and he wanted them to leave and be completely out of sight. So the fishermen drop him off and they leave. The next day, when the fishermen come back to collect John, they see these people with painted yellow faces out on the beach dragging his body by a rope. No one knows exactly what happened to John, how they killed him, but it's too dangerous for anyone to go back and retrieve his body, and so his body remains at North Sentinel Island. The few hundred people that live on North Sentinel Island that were responsible for killing John Chow, they're referred to as the Sentinelese, and they are unbelievably primitive. They are completely cut off from the modern world. They live a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. They have no conception of agriculture. They haven't even discovered fire yet. They literally have to wait for lightning to strike and then run and collect the embers and try to keep the embers alive. Researchers believe that the Sentinelese are direct descendants from the earliest human ancestors that came out of Africa. And as much as we'd like to learn more about the Sentinelese, we probably won't, because they aggressively resist outside contact.
Yo, John kind of got me mad. If the first time they're shooting arrows at you and you manage to barely escape, why would you go back for a second time? All right, let's say, you know what I'm saying? Let's say you risky, you go back for a second time. They did it again, and you barely escaped. So then you went back a third time with no one there to save you?
This autistic woman's family locked her in a cage and forced her to eat her mother's ashes.
Really?
Yes, while she was like locked up in this cage. So this happened back in like 2014 or 2015. This woman, she's autistic, she's like 22 years old. Her mother ends up dying. After her mother dies, she goes and lives with some relatives that she has. Bro, they treat her like an animal. They literally have her in the backyard, living in a cage. They would feed her scraps, and they would force her to do housework.
So pretty much she was like a slave.
She was pretty much like a slave, bro. And
wow.
Not only that, but they was literally torturing her, like, because it was damn near the whole family, like the husband, the mother, and the kids were all doing stuff to her. They would they would burn her with cigarettes, burn her hands with like boiling water. They would like drown her in this hot tub that they had. Bro, they
what?
And on top of that, they forced her to eat her own mother's ashes. So the way that people found out that this was actually happening to her, because they would normally not let her out the cage unless it is for her to do work.
Yeah.
So that's the only way that she would actually get fed and drink.
Yeah.
Was if she would do housework and stuff.
Wow.
Or they were almost kind of like selling her body.
Oh, so they were prostituting her.
Prostituting her as well. And the way this got found out is that I guess people seen her wandering around in the backyard of their house. Like
so
one day that they weren't there, and she was just wandering around the backyard looking hella malnourished and like out of it. People called the police. So the police come and they take all the kids that were living at the house. There was like 4 kids that were living at the house, and they ended up taking those 4 kids, putting them into the system, and the adults of the house ended up being arrested. And I think they got like 30 years in jail
each,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's probably one of the darkest parts. I mean, even the fact that these people normalized it so much that the kids got involved.
Yeah, they were like shooting her with BB guns and like, you know, pouring like hot water on her and stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, like they treat her like an actual animal.
No, seriously.
We just put the biggest crack in that glass ceiling yet. Although we weren't able to shatter that highest, hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you, it's got about 18 million cracks in it. We have still not shattered that highest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will, and hopefully sooner than we might think right now. It may be hard to see tonight, but we are all standing under a glass ceiling right now.
I don't know what she's talking about. Like, I would have to get the full context, but I love how everyone in the audience is clapping like they know. I mean, maybe they do know because they had the full context, but she's just randomly talking about a glass dome. Like, she could be talking about the glass dome they're in, the world, I guess. Maybe a metaphor for like her campaign, I guess. Like, I don't.
Is the Illuminati real? No, I don't know.
She may be telling the truth.
What in the do you think I am?
The machine is showing deception.
The December 22nd incident is happening again for the 4th year in a row. For those of you that have no idea as to what I'm talking about, 4 years ago today on December 22nd, the TikTok moderation team went on vacation and it allowed everyone to upload anything and everything they wanted onto TikTok. After that incident happened, every single year after that, people realized that on December 22nd, the moderation team just always goes on vacation and you could upload anything and everything. So that's what everyone has been doing for the past 3 years and what is happening again today for the 4th year in a row. So now a bunch of people are just starting to upload anything and everything they want, and it's usually a bunch of not family-friendly things. So if you're scrolling on your For You page today, be on the lookout because you're going to see some things that you probably don't want to see. I truly cannot believe that this is happening again for the 4th year in a row, like you think they would know by now, but nope. 4 years, this is really a tradition at this point, and I'm curious to know your thoughts about all of this.
This invention is way ahead of its time.
Ho, ho, ho!
If you've ever messed around with virtual reality, no doubt you've wished there was some sort of treadmill or machine that would allow you to walk around and explore like real life. So, looking at this invention, you might actually start to have hope that this is in development. This shows a bunch of tiles moving consistently in front of this person and allowing them to walk infinitely like they're on a treadmill. Technology that you guys just saw, though, is actually from the early 2000s, which is shocking in my opinion. It's way ahead of its time. These panels are referred to as Circulaflor, all in one word. It was developed by Japanese scientists. These complex machines read your gait, read how quickly you're walking, and they will adjust accordingly, consistently moving wherever you go. Since its original inception, though, in the early 2000s, nothing has been done with it because it's so complex and it would be difficult to commercially produce this. There's a million parts here, so a million things that could go wrong, and it would be ridiculously expensive if it were commercially available. Still, though, it's very cool, and maybe someday we will have something like this that is widely available.
If you've recently put gas in your car at a 7-Eleven, you better go check your bank account right now, and I'm talking about ASAP. Y'all, people aren't finding not hundreds, but thousands of dollars missing from their account. They are charging people 100 times of what they paid for when they went to go pump up. And the fact of the matter is, they didn't even want to shut down the gas station after they found out they were doing this to people. They kept on going. Look at this.
Bought gas at a 7-Eleven in the past week.
Yeah, no kidding. A computer glitch has led customers to be overcharged 100 times what they actually owed.
An I-Team reporter Dan Noyes has been investigating, and he is here now with what he found. It's crazy.
Ouch.
Oh, Kristen Daniel, it's really hard to believe a $40 fill-up turned into a $4,000 charge. And the company says it has happened to about 200 customers. Yara McLaren used her debit card for gas at the 7-Eleven in Pinole. She went inside to buy a Powerball ticket, but her card got declined, so she used her cell phone to check her bank account right there in the store.
And then that's when I got the shock of my life. That tank of gas that I put in wasn't $79.34 like I had thought. It was $7,934.
7-Eleven charged her 100 times what the amount should have been. Yeri told me the clerks were not helpful, and while she stood there arguing, another customer complained he had also been overcharged.
They had charged him $5,000, and I told the workers, I was like, you guys don't know what is going wrong, but there's clearly a problem because people who are paying outside are being charged thousands, and they didn't shut the pumps down until I threatened to call the police and the Better Business Bureau.
After many calls and emails, 7-Eleven finally refunded Yeri's $7,900 and gave her an extra $500 for her trouble.
Unfortunately, at this point, it's just a kind gesture because 7 days later, I'm still trying to reconcile my account. Who got paid? Who didn't get paid? How many fees am I now having to pay out as well?
How did this happen in the first place? An internal company email obtained by the I-Team cites a recent software update and says it appears the decimal point moved over for the pending transaction. For example, move the decimal point 2 places and this $26 fill-up would cost $2,600. 7-Eleven's corporate office in Irving, Texas tells me that a payment processor error affected 6 stores at 2401 Appian Way in Pinole, 890 Coleman Avenue in San Jose, and stores in the Midwest between 2 a.m. and noon on Thursday of last week.
People were out $7,000, $4,000. We even seen transactions for $1,500 for $15. We were like, we need answers.
This customer didn't want to be identified, but she told me several victims gathered at the 7-Eleven in Pinole last week demanding answers. In her case, she bought $43.45 worth of gas and got charged $4,345.
I'm like, whoa, what happened? Did I get scammed?
I'll get gas and I'll see minus 150 bucks and I'm just like, dude, what? That usually gets reconciled like pretty quickly. Like it will actually show the actual number. I've always been scared that one day I'm gonna look in my account after buying some gas and it's gonna be like minus $100,000 that I don't even have.
The FBI raided Michael Jackson's house and found 0 evidence.
What's their conviction rate?
98%.
They didn't win.
So you think the feds are gonna waste their time to go into Michael Jackson's house only to find nothing? They could have planted something nothing, that means you had zero evidence to go off of. If there's something to go off of to like, oh, maybe nothing. So the fact that they went into his house and found nothing, and this picture that with him and Epstein makes even more sense because my theory is now true. I said the second case that Michael Jackson was in.
Damn, you did say that. Go ahead.
Guess what was happening at the same time? Jeffrey Epstein's case.
Facts.
At the same time, who was a real trafficker. Deflection.
Major
So you don't
deflection.
think that meeting has any significance at all?
It absolutely does.
Because it was smoke and mirrors. Nobody knew who Jeffrey Epstein was back then.
People barely knew him 5 years ago.
But the fact that the first time Michael Jackson gets hit with a case, then we find out they're lying and they extorted him. That gets thrown out. Then years later, all of a sudden, the case comes back up again. And then Jeffrey Epstein is in court the same time.
Again.
And now we're showing that he actually knew him?
I can't.
That's an easy layup.
You can't make this shit up. Come on.
That makes even more sense.
That makes even more sense.
Does, though.
Yeah, it makes more sense.
Yeah. It makes even more sense now because it's all smoke and mirrors. Because if the most famous man is in court, are we paying attention to anybody else?
Right. Look over here. Look over here. That's
Just
all
saying.
that is. That's crazy.
That's actually crazy. And how hard was it to get around Michael Jackson when you were around Trump already? Trump was hot around the same time that Michael was hot.
Yeah.
It's how hard is it to take a picture? Everybody wanted a picture with Mike.
Right.
How many people have pictures with Mike?
And not only that,
a lot.
But he was also doing a lot of dealing. So he probably got a call like, hey, you need to link up with this Epstein guy. He got a lot of bread.
Okay, I'll meet him.
He might invest in my thing. He's probably just a financier. He's not knowing what he's doing.
That's crazy.
Right? They know he got jets and boats and islands. He like, oh, okay, let me go see what's up. He might invest in my next album. Who knows?
Exactly.
And here's the thing. Why is Michael dead now? If he's part of all this, you think they're just going to off somebody that's part of the program?
Well, we know why. He owned the Beatles. He owned Sony. Tommy Mottola. He told you that Tommy was the devil way back then.
Exactly.
So
devil can't have you knowing, who he is, where he is.
Yeah, he was mad that he went to Japan he went around Sony here and went and
bought it cash. $85 million cash.
Oh, they were mad at that.
He was like, you know what? Cool. I'll be right back. Goes over there.
Hold that thought.
Here you go. Yeah. Comes back. Wait, hold on. Michael Joseph.
Yeah.
What?
Watch your ass. Watch that ass. Right?
Yeah, take that. Like, no Diddy.
Everybody's fired. Get the fuck out.
Yo, Michael Jackson's the GOAT, bro. I still don't believe he did none of that things that they accused him of. To this day, I still don't believe it.
The world's fastest private jet looks like flying at different altitudes. First up, 50,000 feet. Now, 40,000. Here's 30,000 feet, roughly where airliners fly. Next, 20,000. And 10,000. 5,000 feet now, getting pretty low. Next is 2,500. Now 1,000 feet, which is lower than some of these buildings. Finally, 500, with a flyby for good measure.
The crazy part about planes is that they're so high that it's really hard to gauge how fast they're going.
On September 25th, 1978, a Pacific Southwest Airlines Boeing 727 jet airliner entered San Diego airspace. Because the weather was clear, air traffic control directed Captain McFerrin and First Officer Fox to switch from instrument flight rules to visual flight rules procedures and to begin their final descent. Visual flight rules refers to pilots using their eyes to guide the plane. It's done when they're flying low, the weather's clear, and they can see the ground. At 8:59 a.m. that morning, as PSA Flight 182 descended down to 4,000 feet, air traffic control advised them of a Cessna, which is a small plane, that was ascending in their direction. Fox responded that they saw the Cessna, and so air traffic control came back and said to maintain visual separation. In layman's terms, air traffic control was telling them, don't lose sight of the Cessna. Inside the Cessna was a flight instructor named Martin Casey and his student, who was a United States Marine named David Boswell. Air traffic control informed them that PSA 182, who was right in front of them and slightly above them, they were on their descent. However, they had the Cessna in sight. The men inside of the Cessna did not take it upon themselves to actively begin looking for this jet. They assumed the pilots of PSA 182, who had them them in sight would avoid them. Back in PSA 182, there seemed to be some confusion in the cockpit. The two pilots were debating whether the Cessna they were watching fly lower than them, past them on the right, was the same Cessna that air traffic control had told them about. And at some point they agreed, yep, that's got to be the same Cessna. The Cessna that McFerrin and Fox had seen was the wrong one. The real Cessna they were supposed to maintain visual separation with was still ascending in the direct flight path of PSA 182, except now this Cessna is in 182's blind spot below their nose, so they literally can't see each other. 9:02 a.m., PSA 182 flies directly over the Cessna and strikes them with their nose wheel. The Cessna gets hooked by the wheel and flips upside down and gets trapped underneath the right wing of the jet. Seconds later, the Cessna splits in two. The tail section containing David Boswell plummets to the earth like a rag doll. The nose section of the Cessna that contained Martin Casey stayed trapped underneath the right wing for a few seconds before it detonated. Inside of PSA 182, this explosion was deafening, and immediately after it, McFerrin was recorded saying, "Easy baby, easy baby." Then he asks Fox, "What's the damage?" And Fox says, "It's bad, man. We're hit." It lurched forward into an unrecoverable nosedive. McFerrin's last known transmission to air traffic was, "This is it, baby." At 9:03 a.m., PSA 182 slammed nose first into the ground just outside of downtown San Diego. 144 people were killed in this accident. 135 were from PSA 182. 2 were from the Cessna, and 7 were just unlucky people that were standing on the ground in North Park.
How does an airplane fly? The basic physics of an airplane's flight is hidden in the wings. The upper surface of the wing is curved and the lower surface is flat. As a result, the air above the wing travels a greater distance at the same time. According to Bernoulli's principle, as speed increases, pressure decreases, resulting in low pressure above and high pressure below, which produces lift force. Slats and flaps are used to further increase the lift force. When the speed of the airplane reaches a certain level, the elevator is raised upwards, as a result of which the rear of the airplane tilts and the angle of attack of the wing increases and the airplane easily flies into the sky.
These are the most dangerous airports on Earth. Number 1 is so feared, only 8 pilots are approved to land there. Number 5, Paro Airport in Bhutan. Surrounded by the Himalayas, planes have to dive through narrow valleys with no radar. So only 17 pilots in the world are certified to land here. Number 4, Courchevel in France. This airport doesn't have lights and it's covered in snow and ice 70% of the year. And in 2019, a small plane skidded off the runway and crashed. Number 3, Madeira Airport in Portugal. Built over the ocean, this airport has crosswinds that are so strong, multiple planes have skidded off the runway, including a deadly crash in 1977 that killed 131 people. Number 2, Toncontín in Honduras. Surrounded by mountains, planes have to make a tight 45-degree turn just moments before touchdown. Experienced pilots say, you don't land at Toncontín, you survive it. Number 1, Lukla Airport in Nepal. Built into the side of a mountain, there's no radar, no lights. Pilots have to land completely by sight, often through clouds, wind, and sudden downdrafts.
Did you hear the huge news that a small piece of 3i Atlas just crash landed into our moon? That's a videographerage of it behind me. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. It might have not crash landed. It might have intentionally landed on our moon, because I'm going to show a close-up videographerage of the object, and it is metallic in origin and discular in its shapeage, and it doesn't look like a natural occurring object. It's going to blow your mind. Well, we all know that when 3i Atlas went behind the sun, it broke up in a few pieces. Well, Dr. Shitsunaka Manana from Japan, he said, I don't think it broke up. I think it intentionally separated itself. And he was following all of the objectors that broke off. One of them was going to pass by Earth. 3 days ago, it changed its trajectory, headed straight for our moon, and he filmed this videographerage with his telescope of it crashing into the moon, or like I said, intentionally landing. But I want to know what you think of it, because he zoomed in like 1000x or something, and he has a close-up of it. I'm going to post that in part 2. I want to know what you think. It looks like it's from a non-human intelligence life, but I could be going crazy.
In my opinion, based off of the shockwave, it definitely doesn't look like a landing. It looked like more of an impact. So it either crashed intentionally or mistakenly.
Hey guys, this swamp puppy's coming right at my feet. Just kidding, he's actually going right past me. He just doesn't want to be yoinked like this little coyote. Isn't he cute? Check out this highly venomous cottonmouth just chilling. I accidentally scared him and I had to give him a little boop. Boop! I don't recommend that, but I'm out here looking for that 20-foot Burmese python as usual. This is a swamp puppy trail to a real big one, and I found him. Isn't he cute? Don't mind my purple big toe. Ooh, what do we got here? Yoink. It's a scarlet snake and a really pretty one. Looks like she's going to be laying eggs pretty soon, and her white has a little bit of orange to it. Ooh, a baby. Yoink. This is a baby scarlet snake, not too old. Look at him wrapping around my pinky. Yoink. It's a corn snake. These guys are always the gentlest and cutest little fellas ever. This rat snake gave me a painless kiss. After that, I had a close encounter with a Florida panther. Check him out. He's a big one, too. Super rare to get this close to one. He doesn't look too scared. He's just sitting down now. Ooh, yoink. That's a juicy banded water snake. People often mistake these guys for the highly venomous cottonmouth, but he's non-venomous. Hey, Mr. Blue Land Crab, where do you think you're going? Later, I found this brown basilis. Yoink. I thought he was going to get away. They also call them Jesus lizards because they can run on water. Yoink. Finally, I got a Burmese python. This is just a hatchling, but it's important to remove every one of these invasive guys. Check out this giant American crocodile. You're one big swamp puppy, that's for sure. When he raised his back out of the water, I got to see his whole length, and I'm thinking he's around 13 foot long. Absolute giant. I'm not going to yoink you, Mr. Black Racer. You're diurnal. You're supposed to be sleeping.
I swear one day we're just going to wake up and hear a story about him getting bit by a snake and sadly dying. Because why are you grabbing the mammals like that?
Facts about the creepiest book on earth. We're talking about the Codex Gigas. Legend says it was written by a single monk on one night. Supposedly, he had broken his vows and was facing execution. So he made a pact. He was going to produce a book that contained all of human knowledge so he could save his life. But he realized this was impossible, so it's said that he prayed to the devil, and the devil came and wrote the book for him in exchange for his soul. Now, first of all, this book is freaking massive, okay? It's 3 feet tall, 20 inches wide, and 165 pounds. I mean, the Codex Gigas essentially means big-ass book. It means gigantic book, but you know what I mean. One of the creepiest things about this book is the portrait of the devil that it contains. The figure is drawn as a monstrous humanoid with sharp talon claws, 2 long red horns, and a weird ass green face. Also, if you notice, he's wearing a diaper, but that diaper is made of ermine. And you see, ermine at this time was only allowed to be worn by kings. So it says a lot that this giant king baby demon thing is the devil. But this book basically contains an Old Testament, a New Testament, a bunch of other information. It is the largest medieval text that we have, and it has a really interesting history about being basically saved as a spoil of war. So if you want a part 2 to this, please let me know in the comments down below.
But every state has the world's largest of part 2. Kentucky has the world's largest baseball bat at the Louisville Slugger Museum. Louisiana has the world's largest statue of Ronald Reagan standing 10 feet tall. Maine has the world's largest revolving globe. Maryland has the world's largest engagement ring. Massachusetts has the world's largest seahorse. Michigan has the world's largest tire. Minnesota has the world's largest raspberry in Hopkins. Yeah. We also have the world's largest boot in Red Wing. Mississippi has the world's largest small-scale model. It is a hydraulic model of the entire Mississippi River Basin. Back in the day, before computers, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers would actually use these to predict and mitigate floods on the river because they literally had to just build a scale model. Missouri has the world's largest chess piece. Montana has the world's largest penguin. Nebraska has the world's largest ball of stamps. Nevada has the world's largest firecracker. New Hampshire has the world's largest arcade. New Jersey has the world's largest elephant, Lucy. New Mexico has the world's largest pepper. New York has the world's largest kaleidoscope. It looks like this on the outside, but this on the inside. North Carolina has the world's largest frying pan. operational frying pan. And North Dakota has the world's largest buffalo.
To be fair, those are only like statues and figures. I don't know if you could really say the world's largest chili pepper, raspberry, or elephant.
People are just finding out about this because of the new Wicked film. I promise you will never see this film the same way after you realise what happened. First of all, the original Tin Man actor Buddy Edson is not the guy you see in the final movie. He nearly died. The paint that was used to cover his body was aluminum paint and actually coated his lungs when he wore it, ending him up in the hospital where he nearly passed away and they had to change the actor. The Scarecrow actor's mask was made of an extremely tight and unsafe rubber, which he was made to wear for hours and hours upon end, which actually left his face with permanent scarring after the film released. The snow on the set was made from pure 100% asbestos, which led to a lot of the cast and crew actually developing cancer in later years, and the lion's costume was made from real lion skin and was so thick he was drowning in sweat every day. The Wicked Witch of the West probably had the worst one. Her face was actually coated with such a strong green paint that every day she would have to be rubbed down with acetone. But it gets worse because this scene with the fire, there was meant to be a trapdoor she went down, it failed and she actually got 3rd-degree burns. And they of course then still had to rub her burnt body down with acetone to get the green paint off afterwards. Of course, I'm sure we all know what happened to Judy Garland, who played Dorothy.
What if humans lived at the same time as dinosaurs? On land, you would have to compete with the T-Rex. 6 tons of muscle, teeth the size of bananas, and a brain that only thinks about one thing, eat. So you might think about hiding in the forest, but that's no good because that's raptor territory. They actually hunt in packs and move faster than you can blink, and they were smarter than they should be. So you decide to climb and move up to mountains or up on cliffs. Now, you would have to avoid pterosaurs. Massive flying reptiles with wings larger than a school bus. They'd spot you from miles away and then scoop you up like a snack cake. So the only option now is to go in the ocean, and this was the stupidest decision of all. Down there you have the Mosasaurus, which is basically a swimming T-Rex with fins. Everywhere you go, whether land, sky, or sea, something is always trying to eat you. But wait, in reality, none of that would actually happen. The truth is, dinosaurs are lucky that we weren't around with them. Sure, dinosaurs are bigger, stronger, and had a lot more teeth, but we have something they don't: intelligence and the ability to use tools. Imagine being a dinosaur at night trying to hunt, and you see some tiny eyes shine at you, and then you get stabbed in the stomach. So basically, humans are more dangerous than dinosaurs actually were. But hey, look, we have that cool meteor coming towards us, and by the time
these workers are lucky to be alive.
This is much more dangerous than you guys think it is, and all of these guys right here are very lucky to be alive. This video covers a topic that we've previously discussed many times in the past. You can see right here we've got a boat that's mooring, and these guys are tying these lines to the dock cleats. Within a split second, the dock cleat right here becomes detached from the dock, and this sends it flying. This leaves little to no time for any of these guys to react, and you can see that the cleat has traveled quite a far distance in less than a second. For those of you guys that are familiar with mooring snapback, you'll know how big of a deal this is. Snapback occurs when these ropes used to fasten ships to the dock end up breaking, and this will send one end of the line traveling around 500 miles per hour, killing anybody that. The original video you guys watched takes it a step further, because not only is the mooring line traveling around 500 miles per hour, but also this giant hunk of metal, the cleat, that was taken with it. As far as I know, nobody was injured during this video, which is good, but this could have been very bad. If you guys are feeling gutsy, you can look up snapback accidents. They are not pretty to look at.
There are really mermaids in Area 51. Mermaid stories go way back, from sailors, ancient cultures. There are legends about mermaids all over. Now some people are starting to think that these might just not be stories, but these creatures might be real and that the government could be hiding them at Area 51. Because if anyone's keeping that weird secret, it's them. And then this happened. On July 4th, 2025, a wildfire called the Gothic Fire started near Area 51. Also, how cute, they're calling the fire goth. Official reports say that it was because of a lightning strike, and then it spread really fast, and it burnt over 35,000 acres inside the Nevada Test and Training Range. That area is really close to Area 51. It's practically Area 51. So now people are online and they're speculating. They're saying, is this fire a coincidence, or is it a cover-up to destroy secret research or even evidence about these mermaids? Now you're probably wondering, how do the mermaids even tie in? So I saw a video by creator Jay Clay, and he claims that about a week before the recent fire near Area 51, he got a message from a retired government insider. And he claims that this person often sends some secret information about aliens and other classified topics. And this time he got information about mermaid-like creatures allegedly being held at Area 51. And at first, Jay wasn't sure what to make of all of it, until a few days later. He had seen another creator named Ashley actually make a post about the same same thing that this insider was telling him. And then more people started coming forward with similar stories. And then right after that, this massive fire breaks out. Jay thinks that the timing is too perfect to ignore. This is a photo taken by the Telegraph of an alleged mermaid. And there's no proof necessarily that mermaids exist or that they're at Area 51. The fire was caused by lightning once again, and crews are handling it, but since the government is so secretive about that base, people are filling in the blanks with theories. I think Area 51 is so well known, so I don't know why they would have all this top secret stuff there nowadays, at least. You come over here, you can see my theory about the truth behind the Northern Lights.
Mermaids being in Area 51 is super iffy because, like, Nevada is basically the desert.
Plato's allegory of the cave is actually very profound. We've all seen this picture, it's all over the internet. Well, let me explain it from my perspective. So, the people that are essentially running the Matrix, may it be common people, may it be people in positions of government, people in Hollywood, celebrities, whatever, they're projecting this false reality onto the masses, onto your friends and onto your family. And a lot of the people that are asleep, they believe that the shadow projections being displayed on the walls in that corner with those people right there in the darkness, they believe that that is reality. That all the garbage that they teach us and tell us is reality and there's no reason to question it. Well, all you have to do is hop that wall and climb your way out and see the world for what it really is. Climb your way out of the darkness, all of the illusions, all of the garbage that society tries to push on you and tells you that it's true. Well, most of what we've been taught is not true, and a lot of people are beginning to crawl out of the cave and realize this. But once you make it out of the cave and you see the world for what it really is, you erase all of the programming, well, you can't just leave your friends and family behind. You can't just leave your loved ones behind, because then there's literally no point. What is love if you have no one to share it with? Do you see what I'm saying? So, once you discover these things for yourself, you have to crawl back down into the darkness, into the shadows, and you have to confront your friends and family and do your best to save your loved ones, to help them crawl out of the cave as well. And some people will never crawl out of the cave because it's their duty to uphold the Matrix so that we can learn through difficulty.
Satan's sketchbook got leaked, and that's the day Starfish infected the food web. This Second Amendment abusing bottom feeder is one of the most disgustingly grotesque things to barely qualify as alive, and the only way to explain that is to explain what it'd be like to be hunted by one. Imagine minding your business when a flagrant affront to the food web starts crawling towards you, as if the way they travel wasn't a dent to your mental health enough. Now imagine this body snatcher slaps an armful of tube feet on your face, just to use the suction cups to force your mouth open. Hey yo. Now fun fact about Satan Squishmallow, they're a lot stronger than anything that close to a face hugger should be, and Starfish can spend not hours, but days of your life playing tug-of-war with your jaw. Bro's a predator of persistence. A predator that only needs you to open your mouth 1/10 of a millimeter to win. Except winning means ejecting their stomach out of their mouths and shoving it down your throat. Only to then release digestive juices inside you to dissolve you and cook you from the inside out. The endgame of getting stalked by a starfish is being tucked in with no bedtime story. Except instead of a blanket, you get engulfed by a corrosive embrace as an outside stomach entombs you, and you'd probably scream if the process didn't liquefy your lower jaw. Your last moments would be the stomach retracting back into its gaping maw, along with what is now only a half-digested concept of what you were. That's a lot of damn nerve for an animal with no brain, and a Lovecraftian loofah straight out of Stephen King's wet dream. Also, the Devil's Fidget Spinner is a known cannibal. This creature is a body horror film that has been playing on loop for the last 400 million years, and the only thing we have in common is that they start life the same way they live it, as an asshole. That's Deuterostome timing, the more you know.
An Antonov AN-22 broke apart in midair on Tuesday during its first flight back after maintenance. Now, as I mentioned before, this incident did happen on Tuesday, but we now have footage from a few different angles of the crash itself. And this one is probably the best of the few we have. You can see that the fuselage had pretty much a clean break right behind the wings, which obviously would cause them to lose control. I'm not sure if I mentioned it already, but there were 8 people on board, and since you've seen this footage, you clearly know that there were no survivors.
Just 30 years ago, we had not discovered a single planet outside of our solar system. Today, we've discovered over 4,500 of them, and of all those planets we're discovering, 1 in 5 of them, scientists now say, are most likely habitable. There's really 2 criteria for a planet to be considered habitable. 1, it needs to be rocky, and 2, it needs to fall into the Goldilocks zone, where it's in its star's orbit in a place where it's neither too hot or too cold, allowing water to be in liquid form. One of the best chances we have so far at finding life on another one of these habitable planets is a planet called Ross 128b. It orbits an inactive red dwarf star, meaning it's likely not being bludgeoned by solar radiation, and we've detected strange signals emanating from the nearby host star, signals that perhaps have intelligent origins. Another habitable planet is Proxima b. It also happens to be the closest habitable planet to Earth, and is a lot like Ross 128b. However, the red dwarf it revolves around is much more temperamental and periodically casts out massive amounts of radiation that does make life quite difficult. It's also tidally locked and in synchronous rotation with its star, meaning one side of the planet is always facing the star and getting completely torched all the time. The other side, the dark side of the planet, never faces the star, and so everything is frozen. And so the only place liquid water could exist on Proxima b would be at the equator. Another area of the universe that scientists are focused on to try to see if there's life there right now is an area called the TRAPPIST-1 system. It's actually 7 different planets that are orbiting around this one particular red dwarf. The really cool thing about this particular system is that the 7 planets are super close together. So close that if you were standing on one, you could look up and actually make out geologic formation, and you could see clouds, and in theory, you could actually travel between the different planets. But to really get you thinking, a new study just released its results in October 2020. They looked at all 4,500 plus planets and they ranked them according to how likely they are to sustain life. And out of the 4,500, there were 24 at the top of the list that not only can sustain life, but actually can sustain life better than Earth can. And already, just out of the 4,500 planets that were reviewed, we've already found 24 that are better than Earth at sustaining life. So what happens when we discover there are millions, if not billions of planets out there? Just probability alone says there's going to be a heck of a lot more planets out there that are better at sustaining life than Earth, which really forces you to come to terms with the reality that almost certainly we are not alone.
We are definitely not alone.
Very strange. All these men that were the inventors of the rockets and stuff, they're all very, very into the occult. And so one guy, Jack Parsons, who is called America's rocket godfather, basically he's the one that started the rocket program in the United States. He was part of this organization called the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. He was basically underneath Aleister Crowley.
No way.
He had his own chapter in California. So Aleister Crowley, he joined the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, where he was trained in ceremonial magic. But this guy, Jack Parsons, he said that through the ceremonial magic and whatnot, him, just like others, like the Nazi Party, these Russian engineers, they all received this information about going to space and going to the stars from different entities.
Oh, come on.
They said it was never our knowledge. It was gifted to us. They called them like downloads and stuff. That was just a weird thing to me, this connection of like pretty much the same exact time all over the world, these engineers were receiving these revelations from entities being like, you have to conquer space, conquer the stars. This is how you're going to do it. And they all built these rockets around the same time. Just crazy to me. I also discovered that Buzz Aldrin, along with a ton of astronauts, a ton of NASA directors, were all 33-degree Freemasons. And Buzz Aldrin, when he landed on the moon, with him, one of his belongings that he brought was a tiny little silk flag that was from the Freemason Scottish Rite movement, the 33-degree Masons. Super weird.
What are we doing?
Really weird thing. One of these test pads where they tested the Apollo missions was test pad number 33, and there's only one runway at NASA. Only one runway. It's not runway 1, not runway A. It's runway 33.
Why?
Super weird.
I don't get it, man. This is just beyond me. I hate it.
True story, be someone watch this video to the end. We can't talk to wild dolphins. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Let's go.
I was today years old when I learned that it's illegal to talk to dolphins.
What?
In fact, you can get fined $100,000
No way.
for trying to talk to or communicate with a dolphin.
I can't believe this, guys, but I think I know why. Come on. Yo. What is this dolphin doing? You haven't seen nothing, guys. Get ready. It's not a game. Did the dolphin just bring back her phone that she dropped in the ocean, you mother? Shut up! This is insane. What happened is back in the 1960s, dolphins were being used for military operations. Stop playing with me, son. This video is for entertainment purposes only, and I just learned something new, and I don't even know if that's true. I gotta go look it up to see if it's true. Shut up! It's not a game on you guys. You know how small dolphins are? You mother... Stop playing with me, son. It's game on you guys, and you know what time it is. What you think? That's why you only see dolphins when you're in Florida. Yeah, when you're chilling in the pool, when you're in a resort, you can play with those. Those are playful dolphins, but you cannot talk to those dolphins back out in the ocean. Stop playing with me, son. It's not a game on you guys, and you know what's going on in the ocean. I told you stay out of there. What are the dolphins hiding from us? That's the real question. What do they know that they don't want us to know? That's what don't you say it. Stop playing with me, son. This video is for entertainment purposes only, because everything I'm saying is not even true. I gotta go look it up to see if it is true, and you guys let me know if it's true in the comments. But I tell you one thing, if I'm ever out in the ocean, and I see a dolphin, and I start talking to the dolphin, I'm gonna look around and be like, yo, bro, I can't talk to you. They're gonna find me 100,000.
Bro started talking so fast I couldn't even understand what he was saying. But if that's the case, why don't we just go to a different country where they have different laws and then talk to the dolphins?
Whistleblowing is one of the most dangerous things that you can do. There's really no statistic on how many whistleblowers are killed, mainly because their deaths are always deemed a lone act with no foul play, even when it doesn't make sense to people. Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's victims, but also an advocate and a survivor who had been taking Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell down, along with Prince Andrew. She is the one in that very famous picture of Prince Andrew and Ghislaine Maxwell. There is 17-year-old Virginia Giuffre with Prince Andrew's hand creepily around her waist. That is her. March 2025 of this year, Virginia Giuffre gets into a really bad car accident. At this point in Virginia's life, she has 3 children. She has helped put Epstein in jail. She lived through him mysteriously dying in prison. She helped put Ghislaine Maxwell in jail. She had just finished a manuscript for a book, a memoir detailing her entire 2 years being trafficked by Epstein and Ghislaine to powerful people such as Prince Andrew, other world leaders like a prime minister of a foreign country, US politicians, senators, governors. She has the manuscript. It just hasn't been published yet. It won't be published until she's dead. Virginia Giuffre has been working with a collaborator for this book. This is Virginia's last email to them. It reads in short, "In the event of my passing, I would like to ensure that Nobody's Girl is still released. I believe it has the potential to impact many lives and foster necessary discussions about these grave injustices." That email is sent out April 1st, 2025. By the end of the month, April 25th, 2025, Virginia Giuffre will be found dead. But this is not the first time Virginia Giuffre has almost predicted her own passing, if you will. Years ago, she tweeted, "I am making it publicly known that in no way, shape, or form am I wanting to self-exit. I have made this known to my therapist and my GP. If something happens to me for the sake of my family, do not let this go away and help me protect them. Too many evil people want to see me quieted."
We actually looked at that in one of our streams about Jeffrey Epstein, about how she ended herself. And I was kind of saying that it's really strange that a lot of these people that come out and whistleblow against these people end up self-eliminating themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't even make sense. And it's like all of them, so it's not just 1 or 2 of them, it's like all of them. So in my opinion, that's just really sketchy.
In 2004, a Japanese woman known as Hasumi claimed that she took a train and arrived at a station that doesn't exist. What? How? She said there were no people, no staff, just a silent platform and a single word glowing on the signboard. Kisaragi. A user named Hasumi live posted the entire experience on 2chan, one of Japan's early internet forums, in real time. And readers watched, helpless, as her situation grew stranger with every update she posted. At first, it was small things like the train didn't stop where it should have. She tried going to the front carriage to find the conductor, but there was no answer. Then the train pulled into a station she had never heard of before. There were no before and after stations and no maps to be seen. And that's when she decided to step off the train. So what do you guys think? Is Kisaragi Station a real place or just some internet urban legend? Maybe the truth is just that a story doesn't have to be real to feel real. But this is one of my favorite urban legends, and it's an interesting story.
Some scary stories are true. Pull up a chair and let's talk about the curse of the White City. In 2015, a team of explorers entered the Mosquitia region of Honduras. This is one of the densest, least explored rainforests on Earth. Their goal was to confirm what indigenous stories had described for centuries: a hidden city in the rainforest, guarded by spirits. Locals have referred to it as La Ciudad Blanca, the White City. Spanish conquistadors had once gone looking for it, and they never came back. Some say it was home to an angry, vengeful, half-human deity known as the Monkey God, who had been cast out of the divine circle for being too spiteful and evil. It is really important to understand that the Mosquitia region in Honduras is one of the densest, least traversable places on Earth. The forest canopy here is so thick that sometimes you can't see the sun through the trees at all, naturally making it very hard for anyone who isn't from the area to travel there and explore. But despite the unforgiving terrain and local and indigenous warnings, people started exploring it pretty heavily in the 1900s. Everyone from explorers to academics wanted to find El Dorado. Maybe it wasn't in the Amazon, maybe it was in Honduras. But all of these expeditions would end in failure. Even though one or two of them produced a few artifacts and claimed to have found the White City, none actually had. Without any definitive proof, how could the White City be anything but folklore? Then, science. In 2012, a LiDAR survey scanned the forest canopy, revealing a truth that no explorer on the ground had ever seen. The LiDAR scans revealed geometric outlines of plazas and pyramids buried beneath the trees. Turns out a civilization did exist in this inhospitable place. But was it the White City? Modern scientists would only be able to tell with boots on the ground. When they reached the valley, they found stone throne, carved figures, and ceremonial artifacts, all undisturbed for centuries. This was a major archaeological breakthrough. Evidence of an unknown pre-Columbian civilization that had vanished long before the Spanish even arrived. But the locals had warned our intrepid explorers not to enter the valley, and even though they documented their finds and quickly left, they wouldn't be returning home alone. Several members of the team started to develop sores that refused to heal. Many were struck down by fever, nausea, and an uncontrollable lethargy. More than half of the team had contracted leishmaniasis, a parasitic infection spread by sandflies. The parasite eats through skin and soft tissue, particularly around your palate, and then in its advanced form will attack your internal organs. The only treatment we have for leishmaniasis involves mercury, and only Johns Hopkins University will administer this highly experimental treatment. There's no permanent cure. It will reawaken, and you will have to have the treatment again. So I guess in a way, the curse of the Monkey God does in fact exist. From conquistadors to modern explorers, people have chased the myth of the White City, but the truth they found is alive and very hard to forget. The jungle doesn't need myths to keep people out. It just needs to exist.
So this guy in China claims to have had sex with an alien, and his claims are actually quite believable because there are evidence. In June 1994, timber worker Meng Zhaoguo claimed that he was visited in the night by a 3-meter tall female alien. 3 meters, that's like banging a giant, brother. She had 6 fingers on each hand, and according to Meng, she made him levitate over his bed and had sex with him while his wife and children were sleeping. That's an interesting fantasy, my dude. Weeks later, Meng said he was taken aboard a spacecraft that landed on Phoenix Mountain in Heilongjiang. The aliens also told him that one day his own son would be born on the alien's planet, implying that he had impregnated that female alien. I know this sounds fucking crazy, but here's where it gets stranger, and I'll give you guys the evidence later. Meng said that on board the spacecraft, the aliens showed him on a screen a comet hitting the planet Jupiter. And 1 month later, the real Shoemaker Levy 9 comet actually hit Jupiter, just as Meng claimed. So how did an uneducated farmer know that? What? Did he really bang an alien? Damn. Investigators also reported scorch marks on trees, radiation spikes near his house, and even a strange scar on his leg, which some speculate is evidence that the alien implanted something in his body. And here's the kicker, in 2003, Meng took a lie detector test and he passed. He later said that the aliens returned in 2016 and gave him a mysterious metal rock, which was part of the comet that hit Jupiter. And it seems like the aliens really wanted Meng to have a foolproof story of their existence. I mean, even giving him a piece of the comet, like, hey, take this back to your human overlords and tell them we're here, we are real. Of course, skeptics call him delusional, but to this day, Meng insists that his story is real. But whether it's a hoax, hallucination, or history's strangest close encounter of the third kind, he still remains one of China's most famous UFO mysteries. And honestly, talking about this makes me so excited. If you guys want me to make a full YouTube video, leave a comment or like this video. If there's interest, I'll do a deeper dive and try to look for evidence that debunks his claims.
Does kind of give off schizophrenia schizophrenic psychosis vibes, if I'm being honest.
Your hair looks beautiful for a woman of your age. A lot of times there's thinning. Is that
Thinning?
do you have pieces? Nothing?
Yeah, of course. Of course, do I have pieces? Are you out of your mind?
Can I take them to my mother too?
Here.
Thank you, Mommy. I got those hair. She is unbelievable. I love you, Joan Rivers. All right, I saw you sell these on QVC. That's right. And I saw how you. Do you know I watch?
Yeah, I know. Your mother got the bee.
The bee pin. I got it 4 years ago. These are your earrings too. I want to thank you.
And these are my bracelets. Look at you. And you can keep them.
Yeah, thank you. They didn't say I could keep them or not, but I'm just imposing myself.
You can take this too.
Thank you, Joan.
Give this to your mother. Give that to your mother.
I love it. Thank you, Joan.
Yeah. Is she alive?
Yes.
All right. Then,
she's in your age group, 70 something, 75.
76.
Yeah. Can I have the ring also?
Yes.
Do you mind?
Give the ring to your mother.
Oh, thank you. She smacks it in my hand.
Give the ring. Give the earring.
I mean, obviously Joan Rivers probably got some sort of surgery, but for 76, she looks pretty young. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, she was a real one. She exposed Big Mike and Obama and then got eliminated. It'd be like that, Jones. It'd be like that. R.I.P.
Celebrations are officially canceled this year in some major cities worldwide for a reason that is absolutely shocking. Okay, so basically this is a massive concern for public safety. These events have been recently targeted. The reason for all of this is because of these 4 individuals who were arrested earlier this week trying to plan something and now being charged with conspiracy. I'm not sure we're ever going to get the full story of exactly how this happened, but these arrests mark the disruption of a dangerous conspiracy to be able to spread fear and terror in Southern California. What we do know, and to keep it short, these 4 people were planning something absolutely awful to happen on the night of New Year's in Southern California. This started a domino effect, and cities like Paris are now calling off a large portion of their activities on that night to be able to keep the general public safe. Shortly after, Tokyo then announced that their countdown event will never be happening this year as well. Serbia then goes on to announce that they will be canceling all of their celebrations this year and there will be no organized New Year's Eve parties. I promise to keep you guys updated about everything happening in the news, especially when more cities are beginning to cancel these events, so make sure to add me and come back tomorrow for another update like this.
You know who Santa Claus was made by? Who? Coca-Cola. Stop playing on me! So here's how they constructed this. Back in when Coca-Cola in the late 1800s, early 1900s, they were just a drink for the summertime. So nobody was drinking it during the winter. Right. So they had a plan to construct this character to where it makes Coca-Cola a holiday drink. So now you're drinking it in the summer, you're drinking it during Christmas time, you're drinking it all year. So they took 3 characters, right? So Kris Kringle, which is an old folklore that is a person who literally breaks his arms, dislocates, comes down your chimney, steals some shit, and then goes back up. That's 1. 2, they have Saint Nicholas, Saint Nick. So this is why Santa Claus has all these different names. Kris Kringle, Saint Nick, and then they took Santa Claus, which was, he was basically in the church. He was an old historic figure in the church. So they took these 3 people and then put them all together, right? Now, how did he get his colors? What colors does Santa Claus wear?
Red and white.
What colors are Coca-Cola?
Red and white.
That's where he got the colors from.
Right, that makes sense though, right? But listen, I don't think people really understand that you get everything in the world by putting everything together. Because like, there's only so much thing we can do with what's here, right? So everything got to be mixed and remixed and remade. But it's kind of crazy that they did that to do that, and now look, everybody loves Santa Claus and everybody loves
Santa Claus. They love Christmas.
That's probably why they put Coke in it, but then took the Coke out. Right, because it was Coke and Coca-Cola, but yeah, but there's no more Coke in it no more. But people still get the same effect.
It's other bullshit.
It's caffeine. It's caffeine is just as worse as the Coke, right? I think people worried about all this kind of like these other drugs, but I think the food is the worst kind of drug, and a lot of foods that we eat in America is outlawed in every other country but America.
For sure.
Dude, I never knew that Santa Claus went by Kris Kringle. Who the hell calls Santa Claus Kris Kringle? I've always known Santa Claus to be Saint Nick, if I'm being honest.
Won't believe some of the craziest things that have happened just this past week in the news, including a new star that is potentially going to explode any minute now. If you're feeling sick this week, it's incredibly important to know that there's a mutated strain of superflu that is spreading all over the world right now. Then we have a new medication that's going to be financially backed up from the FDA that allows dogs to be able to live longer that'll be coming out next year. It's already been announced that the cost of this medication will be roughly $100 a month, so if it is something you can afford, that would be incredibly cool. Some exciting news coming out of Blue Origin. They're sending up the very first person to be wheelchair bound, and it's going to be a trip that they will never forget. This picture is worth 1,000 words. The gentleman to the right is Hans. He's a retired SpaceX executive, and he, along with Blue Origin, had completely sponsored the entire flight. And finally, there is a huge star called Betelgeuse that is getting very close to being able to explode. We've been anticipating this explosion for decades, and now it's getting closer. Experts are reminding us that we have no idea to be able to predict exactly when this will happen, but it is going to be happening soon. I keep you guys updated about the craziest things happening in the news, especially when it's something this cool, so be sure to add me and come back tomorrow for another update.
It honestly could have exploded already, but we're so far, the light hasn't really hit us yet.
Alright. Anyways, in June of 2009, a video began circulating on the dark web. It was low quality, shaky, recorded on an old Nokia phone. At first, it didn't seem unusual. Just a group of teenagers standing on a concrete ledge above the Mediterranean Sea in Beirut. It was a popular diving spot, beautiful, and extremely dangerous. Below the ledge sat a broken platform, cracked concrete, rusty steel rods, sticking out at random angles. One wrong move meant death. Moments earlier, one boy had already jumped. He landed cleanly, surfaced smiling. Then the camera turned to his younger brother. He backs up, takes a breath, and starts running toward the edge. But right before he jumps, his foot slips. For half a second, his body hangs in the air. Then his face slams straight into the concrete ledge. The sound is sharp, loud, like a gunshot echoing across the cliffs. People scream. His body folds, hits the steel rods, and falls into the water below. When rescuers dive in, the water is already red. They pull him out and flip him over. That's when the camera captures what most people wish they never saw. From his forehead down to his jaw, bones exposed, teeth visible, tongue hanging loose. He looks like that creature from Stranger Things, like if you want to imagine it. And somehow he's still alive, breathing, moving, trying to speak. But the video doesn't stop there. He's rushed to the hospital and someone keeps recording. Doctors crowd around him in panic. One of them uses both hands to physically hold his face together, trying to keep it from opening further. You can hear someone quietly say, "Where do I even begin?" The boy's eyes move side to side. Guys, he's conscious. He knows what's happening. There's no advanced trauma setup, no time to prepare, just blood, confusion, and improv. For hours, doctors fight to keep him alive. For a moment, it looks like he might survive, but 2 days later, his heart stops. Severe brain bleeding, a fractured spine. And guys, the video was confirmed to be real. Not a movie, not a hoax, a real tragedy, recorded from start to finish. The footage became known as the split-face diving accident, not because of the fall, but because of what the camera captured afterward. And to this day, it remains one of the most disturbing accidents ever recorded. Guys, if you're curious and if you think you can handle the full uncensored video, it's posted inside my private Discord server. But be warned, once you see this video, you won't be able to sleep for days. So this.
Alright, I'll watch.
To whoever filmed this video, why are you still there? Instead of leaving, you're now locked in a staring contest with a grizzly bear that's literally salivating while looking at you. It can't fucking wait to cross that river
and eat your ass like a pink salmon.
See, this right here is why I don't leave my house. I am so glad that I don't live anywhere near fucking grizzly bears. I'll never be a hiking person, because the day that I stumble across a big ass grizzly bear that's literally dropping buckets of saliva while staring directly at me is the day that I'll shit myself.
You think this is Christmas, but what you're feeling isn't joy, it's urgency. Every light, every song, every sail is timed to make you move faster. Limited time, last chance, almost gone. This isn't tradition, it's a formula. Scarcity, nostalgia, fear of missing out. Wrapped up to feel warm, familiar, and necessary. So don't think, just tap. They don't celebrate Christmas. They harvest it.
Did you guys see this video of Kamala Harris talking about AirPods and why she doesn't use them? This is, of course, while AirPods are probably one of the most purchased devices in North America right now. Check this out.
See, my phone is actually on my lap, and you know, I know I've been teased about this, but I like these kinds of AirPods that have the thing, because I served on the Senate Intelligence Committee. I have been in classified briefings, and I'm telling you, like, don't be on the train using your AirPods and thinking somebody can't listen to your conversation. I'm just telling you, that's a little bit more secure.
Now, I will say that laugh is harrowing, but she is right. I mean, but I will say the tip of the iceberg is not that it's going to be tracked and traced, because we know that our phones themselves are surveillance devices. Every keystroke, everything, message sent, message unsent, everything's saved and stored. But my problem with AirPods is the fact that they are a wireless frequency emitting device that you basically put into your skull by it sitting in your ear canal. It's technically within your skull, beaming frequencies into your brain. So of course, it's completely safe, as they say. So was asbestos, so was DDT. Hell, so was even thalidomide. But, you know, never mind all that. Furthermore, I will say the marketing campaign they used to market the AirPods was a little bit lowbrow. If we could do a deep dive on that if you want comment for part 2. But really, you do want to get either wired headphones or air tube headphones to reduce your EMF exposure. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and follow for more.
Yeah, me personally, I only also use Apple wired headphones. I do not use AirPods. I used to, but I do use Meta glasses though, so I don't think it's that much different from AirPods. If anything, Meta glasses might be worse.
Is this scenario actually happening in real time? Is this how they're using predictive programming? Because you literally cannot make this stuff up. During a time when millions of Americans are losing their SNAP benefits, and let's face it, we're all financially struggling, Mariah Carey and the upper class decided to post out this commercial. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to post it here in just a second, but listen very closely to what the elf says, and then I'm going to post a video of what I saw on my FYP right after.
The thief busted! Bad news, Mariah Carey. The elves are striking this year. Elf revenge for putting us through holiday hell. Santa's helper quit. I'm pawning all this so I can afford elf therapy. That's my blush, elf boy. Your lipstick? I'm taking it. Christmas is canceled. No bells, no cheer, no glam. Bye, sweetie.
So my guess is the elves represent the peasants, and the peasants are sick of greedy corporations and overworking only to be broke, and now they're stealing. Is that what I'm seeing here? Is everybody on board with the symbolism? And then Mariah Carey, of course, represents herself, the rich, the big corporations who want you to be a part of all this consumerism to make them richer. And you know what they said? Screw the peasants. You turned him into a spineless snowman and made him work anyway. And then I stumbled across this video of an employee from one of these big corporations saying exactly what the elf was saying in that Sephora commercial.
In light of everything that is happening right now, the craziest thing to me would be my franchise sending out letters for all of our employees to sign saying that their employee meal can't go over $7.
I cut it off because she went off for a second. I don't blame her, but I don't want to be censored. However, what she is saying right here is that Taco Bell is having their employees sign a waiver saying that their employee meals can't go over $7 when a simple chicken quesadilla costs $8.
Ridiculous. Not only do you not pay people, but most of the people that work for your stores are on SNAP benefits. Is telling you, oh, you also can't eat here because we know that you're going to take advantage of the food source that we have here because the government isn't giving you your SNAP benefits.
Do you see what they are doing? They're pushing everybody into a corner. They are taking and taking and taking while working us like dogs and expecting us to celebrate every pagan holiday they put in front of us. So people, you have a choice, but I'm not sure it's going to be a choice too much longer if you get what I'm saying. You going to let them turn you into a spineless snowman, or are you going to stand up for yourselves? It's getting old.
You heard of the Taylor Swift murder?
Whoa, murder?
Yeah, the murder.
No.
So,
wait, whoa.
I'm gonna break it down. Ready?
Okay.
People are calling the Taylor Swift serial killer, and it's in, I believe, New England.
Okay.
Like around New York.
Recent?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is like a month ago, I'm pretty sure. They found a severed leg and a severed foot on the beach literally like 2 minutes from Taylor Swift's home in that area. People are suspecting it's on some ritualistic Illuminati shit.
Like a sacrifice?
Yeah. Now this is the thing. There's more than one body that was found. There was about 8 different bodies and body parts around that area. They're all kind of like 20 minutes from Taylor Swift's house. It's along that shore. So there's 2 options on what's going on here.
Yeah.
Either the theory that Taylor Swift is doing all these Illuminati rituals, or there's just dead ass a serial killer somewhere out there on the loose.
Okay. It's just like a coincidence that it's near her place. Or it's like maybe he knows and he's trying to plot on Taylor Swift.
Now this is where it gets really crazy.
Okay.
The body parts that were the closest found to an area was Taylor Swift's. So everything else was just kind of like in weird places.
Yeah.
But the closest to a house is Taylor Swift's house.
Taylor Swift. Yeah, no.
I have heard that there might be a serial killer running around New York City. So for my people in NYC, mostly the females, be hella careful.
Mark Zuckerberg. Did you hear about the house he's building in Hawaii?
No,
Freaky. He's building this very secretive compound. He's spending over $200 million. Walls all around this property so no one can see what he's doing. Everyone working on the site has to sign an NDA. Through permitting, and some of the plans got leaked. Basically, it's a mansion, but underneath it is a bigger mansion. The walls are made out of metal and concrete, glass doors. They have their own room where they can grow their own food. They have their own water supply. And one of the things had an actual nuclear blast door.
He's getting as far away from civilization as you possibly can be.
The idea with being in Hawaii is, I guess, you want to be surrounded by water.
Just unreachable, probably.
But also having the benefits of being a U.S. citizen.
But what's creepy is this guy in New Zealand who builds underground giant bunkers. He's had over 11 billionaires build bunkers in New Zealand. And it's a reoccurring theme. It's like,
I think they might know something. After watching this, I'm convinced Elon Musk is an alien. Watch this.
Is alien. He's possibly a leader. We've known this for a few years. And the Teslas are part of the alien domination deal. I don't know why we made the deal to let them build the Teslas here. They're building the Teslas here. They're building the alien spacecraft's power sources in front of us, parking them in the back of empty Sears parking lots across the USA, Chicago, St. Louis,
kind of
on the West Coast. And Trump kind of knows it, but he needs the money. He needs Elon's money. Everybody does. Elon's got money coming out of his earlobes. But that makes it legit. Elon Musk and Jacques Cousteau studying alien underwater life forms because that's where the spaceships are.
That's where the aliens are, y'all. In the ocean.
How do I know these things? They're so big. Yikes. Bigger than Shaq. It's not funny, dude. Don't tell your wife about these things, dude. Yeah, she asked me questions. What were you guys talking about John Pork yesterday?
Stay weird, y'all.
We were talking about pork.
A health warning about a new study allegedly linking McDonald's food, like the trending Grinch meal, to rising major depression statistics across America. However, experts say the real danger is the chemical called sodium nitrate. McDonald's formulates to be so neurologically addictive, Americans are essentially still treating themselves with it on a daily basis despite knowing it.
The suicide of a Montrose woman allegedly connected to a man in Canada selling sodium nitrite.
An Ontario man has been arrested after allegedly selling a food additive linked to at least 2 deaths.
Investigators are working in collaboration with multiple jurisdictions as we believe there could be more victims.
Oscar Mayer Lunchables, lunch combinations from Kraft.
There have been times where I've dealt with depression where I have had suicidal ideations, and it's something that I've struggled with since I was very young, and it's something that
I still eat McDonald's. You know, once in a while, it's great.
What's your McDonald's burger?
I like Big Macs.
I went through bouts of depression, not knowing what I was going through. I didn't want to do anything. I was emotional about things. I wasn't participating in team meetings, practice. I wasn't going to class.
This is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's McDonald's order. Double quarter pounder, plain, a McChicken, extra McChicken patty, sheet.
You know what truly does make you depressed and feel like garbage? If you eat a lot of sugar.
This is the most evil man on the entire earth.
This guy is Mark Detroit, and what he did is one of the craziest things you will ever hear. Mark and his wife Michelle lived in Belgium and were both involved in the acts committed. Mark would buy multiple properties. He owned lots of properties in Belgium and he would use each one as a dungeon. He would go out to the streets, find willing people, bring them back, lock them up here and do things that I can't even speak about on here. Underneath the homes he built soundproof chambers so no one could hear the screaming or noises of what was going on, and went on to take many people, putting them under the ground in these chambers and doing the completely unthinkable. He eventually did get caught for the R of over 5 young people, but then was released after just 2 years and went straight back to doing the exact same thing again. When he got out though, it got worse because this time he decided he wasn't going to keep anybody alive. He would do the act and then would take them. His own mother even called the cops on him saying what he was doing, but they did not believe him and didn't do anything. They even went round to the house but couldn't hear anything because there's a soundproof chamber. Not long later, Michelle, his wife, was actually arrested and did confess to the police, leading them back to the house where they found what was going on, where all of these photos were then captured and he was subsequently arrested.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but please do not watch the fake UPS delivery driver video. Trust me, I am not kidding. Please take my word for it. For those of you that may not have heard about the situation, not too long ago, a family of 5 consisting of a mother, father, a 20-year-old son, and 2 young children were recently robbed by 3 men pretending to be UPS delivery drivers. Things took a terrible turn, and the mother, father, and the 20-year-old son ended up losing their lives, and the 2 young children witnessed it all. There was cameras all inside of the family's house, and that footage was recently released. With the full footage being released, a bunch of people have started to upload it here onto TikTok and on every other social media platform as well, and it is just something that no one should see. It is just absolutely devastating. So once again, just please take my word for it. I really am not too sure how people are getting away with, uploading the full footage of the incident here on TikTok and on every social media platform, but somehow people are able to, and yeah, just stay away.
Yeah, we actually saw that in yesterday's video, and a lot of you guys were commenting, telling me that it was like one of the worst videos you've seen and stuff. I still haven't seen it yet, but from what I've heard it was horrible.
Schizophrenia. Schizophrenia fractures how your brain processes reality. Neurotransmitters like dopamine misfire, causing your mind to create experiences that aren't actually happening while struggling to organize thoughts that are real. The disorder has 2 categories of symptoms. Positive symptoms add things that shouldn't be there. Hallucinations make you hear voices commenting on your actions, criticizing you, or giving commands. You might see people who don't exist, or feel sensations on your skin that have no source. Delusions convince you of false beliefs that feel absolutely true. You might think the government is tracking you, that strangers are plotting against you, or that you have special powers. These aren't choices or imagination. Your brain genuinely perceives them as real. Negative symptoms subtract things that should be there. Emotions flatten until you can't feel joy or express feelings naturally. Motivation disappears, making basic tasks like showering or eating feel impossible. Speech becomes disorganized, jumping between unrelated topics, or you might stop talking altogether because forming coherent sentences requires energy you don't have. Movies show schizophrenia as violent and dangerous, but most people with this disorder are more likely to be victims than threats. The real danger is internal, the confusion and terror of not knowing what's real. You can't trust your own perceptions. Voices might tell you terrible things about yourself. Paranoia makes everyone feel like an enemy. Treatment helps many people manage symptoms, but schizophrenia remains one of the most misunderstood and stigmatized conditions, turning a medical disorder into a cultural nightmare.
Stabbed the bear pressing a hidden button in the knife's handle. This activated a CO2 canister concealed inside. As it did, compressed gas rushed through a tube in the blade before coming out of the tip. This freezing gas entered the wound and expanded rapidly, destroying the tissue around it. The internal shock was enough to explode the bear from the inside, stopping it before it could kill him.
I'm gonna definitely need one of those.
When the Twin Towers attack happened, a group of people surviving on the higher floors gathered in the staircase and thought of a bizarre strategy to try to survive. Immediately, one of the men suggested they go to the building's rooftop because soon people would notice and bring a helicopter to rescue them. But as they began to climb, the building started to sway, and one of the men began to think that was an extremely foolish idea. It was then that he abandoned his colleagues alone and began to descend the stairs, while the others tried to climb to the building's rooftop. The problem was that the man who went down alone passed through the floors where the plane had hit, and he ended up getting burned in the process. But before he could get out of the dangerous floors, he heard the screams of a person who had been trapped in the rubble, and he stopped everything he was doing just to go save the guy. As soon as he arrived, he removed the debris from on top of the man and carried him down 80 floors, encountering firefighters who were climbing the stairs to try to resolve the situation. But soon after they descended all the floors and got out of the building safely, the building unfortunately collapsed, killing all the other people who had stayed inside.
Did you know this is the only city where only women live, and no man is welcome? Yes, you heard that right. And the craziest thing? This place has had a zero crime rate for 48 years straight. This 1,000-acre land is run by over 40 women, and they live entirely off-grid, generating power from solar panels, hauling water from gravity-fed systems, growing over 80% of their food, from potatoes to medicinal herbs, and only spend less than $500 a month to live like queens. But the most mind-bending rule? No male births are allowed to be raised on the land. If a resident gives birth to a boy, she temporarily moves out until he's old enough to leave the community. And guess what? Not even the president can visit here, unless she is a woman, because this community has functioned without a single police officer, sheriff call, or 911 report since the 1970s. But can you actually become a resident if you want? Well, technically no. Even if you offered $1 million, you still wouldn't get in, because the land isn't for sale, and the only way in is by invitation, and that invitation must be approved by every single woman, with a 100% unanimous vote. This is Woman's Land, located in the state of Oregon.
Legend has it that every time an angel appears to a human, the very first words out of the angel's mouth are always the same. Be not afraid. But here's the part that people don't exactly realize. The angel isn't saying it to comfort you. It's a warning, because what you're actually looking at would literally shatter your mind if you saw it without that preparation. The thing is, we have paintings, we have sculptures, and we have centuries of art showing us what angels look like. Beautiful beings with soft wings and glowing halos. Those paintings are lies. Real biblical angels, well, they're cosmic horror. They're being so utterly other that human consciousness almost can't process them. Multiple faces, infinite eyes that cover their entire bodies, wheels made of fire rotating through dimensions, wings that move in impossible geometric patterns, bodies made of pure celestial light that would incinerate anything unworthy of standing in their presence. When the prophets saw them, they didn't say, "Oh, how beautiful." They fell on their faces in absolute terror and begged not to be destroyed. And this is what biblically accurate angels actually are. So in the book of Ezekiel, the prophet encounters an angel and describes it like this: a being covered in eyes. Not eyes on a face, eyes covering every inch of its body. Multiple faces pointing in different directions. Wheels within wheels covered in more eyes. Wings that move in perfect synchronization with the rings, which rotate in all directions simultaneously, creating a hypnotic, impossible geometry of movement and perception. Ezekiel saw one and fell on his face in horror. This is the Ophanim, the throne angels. They're the chariot bearers of God, the highest order of celestial beings in Jewish mysticism. Their name means the Watchers, and they exist to observe all of creation simultaneously. Every eye represents awareness. They see past, present, and future all at once. They perceive dimensions we can't even conceptualize. But that's just one type of angel. Then there are the seraphim, the six-winged burning ones. Isaiah encounters them in the temple, and they're so radiant, so incandescent with divine fire that the very foundation of the building shakes. Their wings are described as burning with holiness, not metaphorically burning, literally wreathed in celestial flame that purifies and annihilates anything unworthy of God's presence. The seraphim are the closest beings to God in the celestial hierarchy, and when they move through heaven, reality warps around them. And when Isaiah saw him, he immediately cried out that he was unworthy and that his lips were unclean. And then there were the cherubim. Depicted in popular culture as chubby babies, but the actual biblical cherubim are warriors. They're portrayed as having multiple bodies, multiple faces, sometimes described as having a lion's face, an ox's face, an eagle's face, and a human face all in the same creature. They have enormous wings that span rooms. They carry flaming swords, and when God places them at the gates of Eden after humanity's expulsion, they're there to annihilate anyone who tries to return, not to gently shoo people away. The cherubim are God's enforcers, divine soldiers. And then there are the standard angels. They're what we'd recognize more readily, like Gabriel or Michael, but even these aren't how we imagine them. When Gabriel appears to Mary in Luke's gospel, the very first thing he says is do not be afraid, because his mere presence, his celestial form, is so overwhelming that Mary is terrified. Gabriel has to spend the first moments of the encounter calming her down before he can even deliver his message. Now, Michael the Archangel is described as a cosmic warrior, leading God's army against Satan's forces. In Revelation, a war breaks out in heaven, Michael and his angels fighting the dragon and his angels. The description is apocalyptic, violent, and cosmic. Michael isn't gentle, he's militant. He's the embodiment of divine will made manifest. So here's what makes biblically accurate angels so mystically profound. They exist in a completely different mode of being than humans do. They operate outside of normal physics. They perceive reality differently with infinite eyes from infinite angles, seeing what cannot be seen. They're beings of pure light and fire made of celestial substance that exists partially outside of our three-dimensional space. So when humans see them, not in paintings but really encounter them, the consistent reaction is terror followed by awe. The angels have to tell people be not afraid because human consciousness almost can't process what it's witnessing. It's too much, too real, too powerful, and too other. In Jewish mysticism, an angel is an emanation of God's name, literally a manifestation of divine attributes given form and agency. And when an angel appears, you're not meeting a servant of God. You're encountering a piece of God's will made visible in a form consciousness can almost handle. Now, the Kabbalists understood this. They taught that to truly perceive an angel is to come close to perceiving God itself. The light is blinding, the presence is overwhelming, the intelligence is inhuman and absolute, and most people have it backwards. We've sentimentalized angels, made them cute and safe and manageable, but the real biblical angels are the opposite. They're the edge where human consciousness meets infinity, where the finite touches the infinite, and the experience is so intense that it truly breaks people. So when the Bible says fear God, it means fear this. Fear being so far beyond human comprehension that they literally glow with power, covered in eyes that see everything, moving through dimensions that we can't access, emanating such pure divine force that they have to calm humans down just to prevent our minds from breaking. That's the mystical reality. Not clouds and not harps, but cosmic watchers, celestial warriors, and beings of pure manifestation made from the substance of divinity itself. So the next time you see a cute cherub painting in church, remember what you're actually looking at. A warrior covered in faces with a flaming sword, standing guard at the gates of paradise. Now, if you want to explore more about the hidden nature of spiritual entities and biblical mysticism, make sure to like the video, let me know what you think about these biblically accurate angels in the comments below, and follow for more deep dives like this. Till next time.
If real angels look that terrifying, imagine what demons would look like.
Here's some of the greatest conspiracy theories of all time. Part 4. The Grinch has a well-known backstory about hating Christmas. However, eventually in the movie, his heart grows 3 sizes and he loves Christmas once again. But this story may continue longer than we think. It is clear that the Grinch isn't exactly right in the head, but during one of the Grinch's wacky stunts, he could have gotten a head injury. This injury would later take a toll on him as he grew old and caused him to lose his memory. After him and his dog died, they were given a new life in a realm called Halloween Town, where they now lived as Jack Skellington in Zero. He later reunites with his love for Christmas, just like he had when he was alive. Both eventually wear a Santa suit, both deliver presents, and both have a dog companion. It may be possible that How the Grinch Stole Christmas and The Nightmare Before Christmas are tied together.
This is the disturbing truth about Christmas. This is Black Peter, and he spends the whole year spying on kids, taking note on who has been good and who has been bad. Every single Christmas, Black Peter goes with Santa from house to house, and while Santa gives presents to the good kids, Black Peter punishes the bad ones, and this is what he does to them. At first, he will leave you a bag of twigs and a pile of coal. But if you have been really bad, Black Peter will snatch you from your bed and throw you into a sack. He will then kidnap you and take you to his coal mine, where he will chain you up and make you his slave. You will then work for him for the rest of your life, and if Black Peter ever gets sick of you, he will just simply eat you. So if this doesn't motivate you to make the nice list, then I don't know what will.
Always make sure you actually know someone before you invite them into your home. I was 13 years old and it was around Christmas time and our family was having our annual family Christmas party. We would host the Christmas party and invite most of my neighbors and the majority of my direct family. In years past, I would normally not be able to stay up late during this night because I was a little bit younger. But since I was a little bit older this year, my parents let me stay up a little bit later than normal. Everything was completely going fine, and I was hanging out with my twin sister and also a few of my cousins. My sister's name was Jess. Jess and I were very close enough to be able to usually tell when one or the other was off. After I was hanging out with a few of my cousins for a little bit, I noticed that Jess disappeared to somewhere. But then that's when we got interrupted by this loud scream that came from the downstairs kitchen. The majority of the people who were downstairs were just neighbors and family friends that were just drinking casually and having a good time. I ended up quietly walking downstairs to go see what was going on, considering I probably wasn't supposed to be up this late. As I'm walking down the steps, I see that Jess is already at the floors of the steps, and when she turns around, all she makes is the shh noise, so I'm even more confused, and then she runs upstairs very quietly and pulls me into the side room. Before she even gets words out, she starts crying, so now I'm super confused. So I keep asking her what's going on, what's happening, why is she crying? But the only thing I could get out of her is that she kept saying that Joe did something bad. At first I was like, who's Joe? And then I realized that's one of her neighbors from down the street. So at this point I try to calm her down, and then I go downstairs to investigate a little more because I'm very curious on what could be going on. But as I start to walk downstairs, I see my dad around the corner, and then he immediately tells me and my sister to go in our room and lock the door. And I'm not gonna lie, he had this angered look on his face that scared us a little bit, so we followed what he said. And at this point, I was contemplating on whether the fact if I should call someone to help or the police or something like that. But then my dad eventually came in the room, and I told him that I was planning on doing that, and he said not to. He said that he was planning on handling whatever situation was going on downstairs. And eventually he goes back downstairs, tells us just to stay put in our room. About 30 minutes go by, and me and my sister just decide to go sneak downstairs to see what was going on. Because at this point, we were just extremely curious on what could be going on. So we end up walking down the stairs very quietly and sneaking into her kitchen. The only person in my kitchen is my mom, and she's just staring out the window. I call her name a few times, and she just keeps staring out the window. But when I went into the living room and I peeked out the window, what I saw just didn't make any sense. It was a few of my family members and then a few of my other neighbors that were attending the party just standing in a circle talking. And I thought to myself, I've already come this far, so I wanted to sneak over there and hear what they were talking about. But when I heard what they were talking about, I completely froze.
Here are some morbid facts about your favorite Christmas movies. The Grinch as a kid was played by an 18-year-old actor with dwarfism. Sadly, he died of heart failure just 2 years after the movie released. Many of the indoor scenes in the movie Elf were shot inside an abandoned mental asylum in Canada called Riverview Hospital. All of the characters in Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas were inspired by hallucinations he had during a fever that nearly killed him. There's a convincing fan theory that suggests Kevin McAllister from Home Alone grew up to become the serial killer Jigsaw from the Saw movie franchise. South Park's Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh originated from when Trey Parker was potty training at age 4. His father told him if he didn't flush his Mr. Hanky, it would come to life and kill him in his sleep. While filming for The Grinch, the thick makeup and prosthetics made Jim Carrey feel like he was being buried alive every day. It became so brutal for him that they had to hire a former CIA agent to teach him techniques for coping with torture.
Dude, that's quite a lot just for a movie.
There is a dark conspiracy theory about Home Alone that I would like to share. We all know and love Kevin McAllister. In Home Alone, he's the forgotten child, his siblings bully him, his parents don't really care about him until he's missing. He just doesn't have the best childhood. In Home Alone and Home Alone 2, we see Kevin being harassed by 2 local burglars named Harry and Marv, also known as the Wet Bandits. Throughout the Home Alone franchise, we see multiple scenes of Kevin setting up these traps to harm Harry and Marv. His traps include a head blowtorch, a hidden nail on the stairs, an electrocuting welder, and so many more. We all didn't think anything of how some of these traps could literally kill someone because he was just a kid defending himself from these burglars. Even though Kevin McAllister was defending himself and it seems justified, was this all writing on the wall for Kevin to grow up to be someone more evil, sick, and twisted? The conspiracy theory suggests that Kevin McAllister from Home Alone grew up to be none other than John Kramer, more famously known as Jigsaw from the Saw movies. Both Kevin McAllister and John Kramer were pros at making these deadly traps, both dealt with personal traumas such as neglect, heartbreak, and abandonment. And even based on looks, Kevin truly could have grown up to be Jigsaw.
This is the scary theory behind Santa. Okay, so has anybody else ever realized the similarities between Santa and Satan? For example, they both have the same amount of letters in their name, and they also use the same letters. Also, both of them are associated with the color red, Santa with his red suit and Satan with his red face. And finally, Santa comes down the chimney where there is fire, and Satan is associated with the fires of hell. So what do you think? Is this just a very big coincidence? Or are the devil and Santa connected in some way?
Well, to be fair, the devil's not really much of a giver unless it's your problems. He's a very giver of problems.
No, bro, I'm telling you, do not do this Christmas trend. Wait, what trend? Well, it's a thing where kids are taking a red marker like this and drawing a circle on their palm like this. They call it Rudolph's nose. But the idea is that when you fall asleep with it on, you start dreaming of a Christmas adventure. Bro, you know I love Christmas adventures. I have to do this. No. If you do that and you close your eyes, you end up in a frozen forest. And if you don't reach the tree line before the blind reindeer finds you, you don't wake up. Blind reindeer? What do you mean? That sounds easy. Well, not so fast, buddy. So normally to reach a tree line, it's pretty easy. Pick a tree directly in front of you, walk to it. Before you reach it, pick another tree straight behind it. Keep repeating that and you'll move in a perfectly straight line until you hit the tree line. But this forest is different. How so? So no landmark stays in the same place twice. And remember that blind reindeer? It tracks you by your heartbeat. So when you're freaking out because you're lost and freezing cold, you basically turn into a dinner bell for evil Rudolph. Whatever, bro. I was a weeblo.
Yo, you want to hear a theory about Christmas? So there's this psychedelic mushroom. Oh, you can Google this. You can search this up. So there's this red mushroom. You know the mushroom emoji? The red
like
with the white dots,
yeah,
right?
Like a toad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So back in the day, these mushrooms used to grow under pine trees. Okay, here's the thing. So Christmas has a weird attachment to these mushrooms.
Okay.
So they used to take the mushrooms, the red and white mushroom, pick it from the bottom. So you can imagine the tree, right?
Yeah.
And you see the red underneath it. It's kind of like a tree and then gifts underneath.
Oh.
All right, hold on. It's not finished. Now, they used to take the mushrooms and before they can use it for their tradition, for the psychedelic trip, they put it on the tree
like
to
ornaments?
dry it. Whoa. So it's kind of like ornaments, right? All right, so the shamans used to wear red and white.
Yeah.
Red and white. Santa Claus. All right, listen.
Christmas Urban Legends, Part 2. According to this legend, it was Christmas Eve, and a dad wanted to dress up as Santa to surprise his kids and wife. He got on his Santa suit and he decided to slide down his chimney. However, about halfway, he got stuck and died from asphyxiation. But it gets worse. That same night, his wife was like, let's start a fire, get in the cozy spirit. Shortly after, she realized a bad smell coming from the chimney. That's because it was her dead, burning husband. This legend always creeped me out as a kid. The scariest part is that this has happened before. A robber in England was trying to enter people's home through their chimneys, and, well, he got stuck. Obviously, the family didn't know that he was in there, and later started a fire, and, well, you know. So it's happened before. Don't climb in chimneys. Happy holidays. Follow me on YouTube for more creepy stuff.
I thought that would be obvious not to go down someone's chimney. Y'all also gotta remember, chimneys are not wide spaces, like they're pretty tight. But I'm surprised the family didn't hear them scream or anything when they started the fire.
There's a theory for Home Alone 1. So the whole movie is actually an allegory for Christianity. And Jesus is actually in the movie. Remember the really creepy old man in the movie? That's actually supposed to be Jesus the whole time. Remember the first time he shows up?
In the house, right?
No, it was at a store.
Oh,
and he's buying things at the store. And he notices he has a bandage on his hand and he's bleeding, right?
Yeah.
It's bleeding from the top with the bandage.
Okay.
Later, when Kevin is running away from the burglars, and then where he's running to, he runs into a church. He runs into a church, right? And then remember the burglars go, oh, I don't like that. It's because they feel the presence of God. Now, when he walks in there, the script itself, if you read the Home Alone script, it says Kevin walks in and he realized the Spirit of God is there.
Oh, that ass?
Yeah, in the script.
Oh.
That was like the emotion they were trying to play off on the scene. He sits down in the pews, and guess who sits beside him?
The old man.
The old man, yeah. But this time you see his hand facing this way. And what is it? It's the bandage, and the blood is in the middle.
Okay.
Just like when Jesus had the nail through his hand.
Insane.
So it shows that it went through both sides, fam. Now at the end of the movie, what happened? When he couldn't take on the burglars by himself, who saved him?
It was the old man, right?
It was the old man that saved him when he couldn't do it himself and sacrificed himself to save.
Not, there are people who actually claim to have seen Santa Claus, and to them, he is very much real. Now, if Santa exists, then we have to ask, what is he? Some kind of spirit, some kind of thing that is brought about by people believing in him, or something else? Now, there was this man named Mike. Mike was from Tennessee, and he said his grandmother came over from Sweden when she was a young girl, and she brought with her a lot of the Christmas traditions from Sweden. And he said one of the things he remembered was they had this figure that was sort of like Santa Claus. He was some kind of farm spirit that would protect your farm and bring you Christmas presents on Christmas Day. And he said one Christmas Eve, he was in his bedroom and he couldn't sleep because he was so excited for Christmas the next day. Now, he was just pacing back and forth in his bedroom when he glanced out the window and he sees this bright light coming from the forest. And he said to him it appeared like some kind of lantern. And as this thing came into focus, he could see some sort of red figure that was glowing. He noticed that this thing sort of weaved between the trees and then it just vanished. So he ran back to his bed and laid down. And he thought, no, it can't be. Like, is this like Santa? A couple minutes later, he hears the front door open. And then he starts to hear the shuffling of some very heavy footsteps, something walking into his house. So he gets up out of bed and he goes into the hallway. And the first thing he does is he looks into his parents' bedroom. And he can see that his mom and his dad are sleeping. They are snoring. And so he knows that it isn't them. So he makes his way down the hallway and he peers slightly around the corner. And he said by the fireplace, behind the tree, he could see two black boots and they were sort of moving around. He said that's when he heard a deep voice, a man's voice, start singing an old Swedish song. So he said he ran back to his bedroom and he went to bed. The next morning he wakes up and he thinks, wow, that was a wild dream. Until he talks to his father, who says, hey, did you go outside last night? Because the front door was cracked open and there were a set of footprints leading all the way out to the woods. Except the weird thing was the footprints stopped right as it reached the woodline. So what do you think? Do people really see Santa Claus?
This is the real Santa Claus. He's dropping a small bag of coins through a window at night. You see, he was a bishop named Nicholas, who used his own money to help poor families in secret. Because without it, families in debt risked losing their children to the people they owed. So parents woke up to enough gold to keep their family together. But as his story spread, people added new details to make it easier to tell to children. A Christmas poem turned him into a man in a sleigh with flying reindeers. Then artists started drawing him as a round, smiling man in a red suit. So children grew up believing in that Santa, and almost no one talked about Nicholas anymore. And that's why today, most people don't realize Santa was real. We just changed who we were talking about.
There is a warning that is being issued to literally anybody on the planet that owns an iPhone, and you need to make sure that you watch this. So there's a serious Apple security flaw that's going viral after police and security experts have now started to warn people to change one specific setting immediately. Don't worry, I'm obviously going to tell you which setting to change. This doesn't just affect iPhones, by the way, it actually affects Macs, Apple TVs, CarPlay systems, and basically anything else that uses AirPlay. What's crazy about your phone getting hacked with AirPlay right now is that the hackers don't even need your phone. They don't need you to click anything at all. If they're on the same Wi-Fi network as you, which could obviously be in public at hotels, apartments, airports, and coffee shops, they can scan your Apple devices with AirPlay left open and visible. Security researchers are saying that this exploit lets attackers access devices in seconds using Apple's own AirPlay system. You will not get a notification and you will not see a pop-up. You literally will not know what's happening. AirPlay is just automatically turned on by default for a lot of people, and most people never even touch the settings, so that's why this is so dangerous and why a lot of people are getting this right now. All you need to do to change this is to make sure your device is fully updated and then go to Settings, General, AirPlay, and Continuity, and then set automatically AirPlay to never.
Today is actually Michael Jackson's birthday. He would have been 66 years old today. Now, I know that some of you guys are having flashbacks to your childhood, thinking about all that Michael Jackson and his music meant to you. But a great many more of you are perhaps thinking, but Candace, wasn't he a The media, man, it is one hell of an entity. It really can have you thinking that the bad people are good and the good people are bad. So today, I am going to tell you the true story of what happened to Michael Jackson. Growing up in a black household, I will tell you, Michael Jackson is just required viewing, and he was nothing but adored. I mean, from his relationship with Princess Diana, Michael was everywhere, and it was just agreed that there would never be a talent like Michael Jackson. But then something happened in 1993, something very unusual given the fact that this was a man that was in the spotlight so much. It was in 1993 that the very first allegation came against him, made from a screenwriter in the industry. He was both a screenwriter and a dentist named Dr. Evan Chandler, who was based in Los Angeles. And his accusation was that Jackson had his 13-year-old son, Jordan. Horrific. Now, how this came about was that Jordan told his psychiatrist that Jackson had molested him. And then the LAPD began a criminal investigation. But the investigation actually found no physical evidence against Jackson, and it was closed. The case was closed less than 1 year later. Now, that should have stopped the media from reporting on it. Michael Jackson wasn't guilty, but we know the media has never let facts get in the way of them having a good time. They broke the allegations worldwide, which led Michael Jackson to cancel the second leg of his Dangerous World Tour in August of that same year. And he cited health issues, health problems that were stemming from the stress of the entire scandal. And do you want to know what actually added to the stress? This is actually horrific. His sister, LaToya Jackson, came right out and she said, yup, Michael Jackson is a But then something weird happened. She didn't provide any evidence. She didn't even attach that statement to a story. And when people prodded her about that, why did you say your brother is a she admitted that it was her husband who had forced her to make that statement. Now, it's very strange. Who is LaToya Jackson's husband? Well, here's a photo of her with him. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. Like Dr. Evan Chandler, this man is Jewish. I'm going to tell you why that matters as we get more into the Michael Jackson story. Her husband is a Jewish Russian immigrant, it says. His name used to be Jack Leon Gordon, and he then changed his name, also changed where he said he was born. He claimed that Las Vegas was his birthplace until he changed his name in 1981 to Samuel Isaac Gordon. And then he changed his name again in 1983 to Clifford William Johnson. And then he said he was born in Springfield, Massachusetts. Okay, this is all getting really weird. Why is this person changing his name so many times? And why is he pushing his wife to say that her brother is a I mean, that's at least what LaToya Jackson said. And the story is going to get even stranger and stranger, making me think that we should maybe go back and re-examine his relationship, Michael Jackson's relationship, and with young Jordan and how these allegations came about. Take a listen to Dr. Evan Chandler, the dentist, in his own words.
This attorney I found, I interviewed several, and I picked the nastiest son of a bitch I could find. Once I make that phone call, this guy is just going to destroy everybody in sight. Any devious, nasty, cruel way that he can do it. And I've given him full authority to do that. It'll be a massacre if I don't get what I want. If I go through with this, I win big time. I will get everything I want, and they will be destroyed forever. They will be destroyed. June is going to lose Jordy. She will have no right to ever see him again. Yeah. That's a fact, Dave. That's what's going to happen. Michael's career will be over. Does that help Jordy? Michael's career will be over. And does that help Jordy? It's irrelevant to me.
Oh, whether or not this helps his son is irrelevant to him. That man sounds like he is on a warpath. And if you want an even crazier update, Evan Chandler, the person who started this initial allegation, he's no longer with us because he was he committed in November of 2009, just 5 months after Michael Jackson was overdosed. Yeah, Evan Chandler shot himself in the head. There were absolutely no witnesses. There was no note, and he was found by his building concierge. That's just a fun little update for you. There were no more allegations against Michael Jackson until almost 10 years later, when suddenly there was an explosion of allegations against Michael Jackson. And I want you to remember that year, 2003 is when it began. It began when a boy named Gavin Arvizo accused Michael Jackson of child abuse, saying that he was under 14 at the time of the alleged crime. The singer was then charged because of this allegation with 7 counts of child and 2 counts of administering an intoxicating agent. What does the public actually remember from that time? What do you remember from that time? Well, we remember that Michael Jackson was wacko jacko, that he was crazy, that he was addicted to drugs, whatever his doctor was injecting him with. Here are just some of the headlines: wacko jacko, backo jacko, sex raid, wacko jacko, jacko on the attacko. I mean, this is like seared into my memory. I'm sure it's seared into your memory as well. This is what I remember. And I also remember that he was anti-Semitic. Yeah, there were headlines calling him an anti-Semite, saying that he hated Jews. It was then revealed that Michael Jackson kept an enemy list on which he had Tommy Mottola along with, I'm not kidding you guys, Rabbi Shmuley. Yes, that Rabbi Shmuley. He had him on this list, and Rabbi Shmuley then, after Michael Jackson died, then released recordings of him that he said Michael Jackson definitely wanted him to do, even though he was on this list for Michael Jackson. He had a list of Jews who he said were trying to ruin his life. But we don't really remember that part. We don't remember even that Michael Jackson, despite all of those media headlines and being accused of being a he actually won his case. Yeah, despite 10 years of investigation, no proof was ever actually produced. Michael Jackson was acquitted on all counts on June 13th, 2005. But of course, despite the fact that a jury acquitted him, despite the fact that the pop star had been vindicated in a courtroom, we know that's all about the media. It's all about what the media writes. The media tells you what a person is, irrespective of whether or not they have any evidence of whether the person is, in fact, what they say he is. That's the power of the mainstream media. Michael Jackson had the courage to call out how record companies cheat their artists. He wanted to stand up for these small guys and say, we cannot allow these sorts of things to go on anymore. Take a listen.
Record companies really, really do conspire against their artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially the black artists. Sony, Tommy Mottola. Tommy Mottola is the president of the record division. He is a mean, he's a racist, and he's very, very, very devilish.
That clip was from 2002. His declaration of war on the industry of people who he was alleging was intentionally stealing and selling artists short, and who he no longer wanted to work with because he wanted to be a free agent. He wanted nothing to do with these people, and he was winning. At least he was winning it in the courtroom. But as I said, the courtroom doesn't dictate wins, does it? In that measure, everything that he was doing was really all in vain, because he is now remembered as Wacko Jacko. Title that was created for him in the mainstream media that really hurt him. In fact, he sat down with Barbara Walters and spoke about how much that name hurt him. Take a listen.
You should not say he's an animal. Should not say he's Jacko. I'm not a Jacko. I'm Jackson. I have a heart and I have feelings. I feel that when you do that to me. It's not nice.
After the trial, Michael Jackson stepped away from the spotlight, and then it was reported, because having fought all of these lawsuits, that he was on the brink of bankruptcy. I want you to think about that. I want you to think of a person who once sold 70 million records, made Sony extremely rich, that at the end of his life, he was on the verge of bankruptcy and had faced closure on his Neverland ranch. And he never did, by the way, return back to Neverland. In 2009, he announced that he was going to put together some comeback concerts, and there were rumors about his financial situation, but the concerts never came to pass because, well, we know.
Like I said in yesterday's video, to this day, I still don't believe Michael Jackson did any of that, and it was just all like someone trying to shoot him down. Because we've seen people like Epstein and stuff like that really did all of that, and nothing came about it until like years later. Like someone could say today, like, oh, this rapper did this to this girl, even if the rapper never met the girl, it can still ruin his career. It's kind of messed up.
So what do professional mountain bike riders do after they get seriously injured? Well, this one became a drug trafficker. Now, the woman's name is Missy, and Missy is 29 when this story starts, and she's living in Colorado, and Missy is really, really good at professional mountain bike racing. Like, she won 14 titles and 11 World Cups and the 1994 World Championship. She's actually a playable character in a PlayStation 2 bike racing game. And here you can see she's being interviewed on Conan O'Brien's old show. I mean, you get it. She's good at what she does, and she's very famous in that world. But one day, in 2001, all that starts to change. Because Missy is doing a practice run, and suddenly, boom, she goes flying over the handlebars, knocks herself unconscious, and dislocates her shoulder. But a little injury is not going to stop her. Against medical advice, she decides to go right back to racing. And midway through a run, she loses control again, she goes flying over the handlebars again, and pow, she slams her head into the ground. However, this time, the damage is serious. Her brain starts bleeding. And she goes and she gets medical attention, and she finds out that she now has a brain hemorrhage. And because of this, she's in excruciating pain. She can barely open her eyes because it hurts so much. And if she moves around too much, she'll throw up. And this goes on for like 3 months. Now, you would think that after these injuries, this would be the end of her career. But you'd be wrong. She still isn't ready to give up biking. I mean, she loves it. It's how she makes her living. She's not about to quit. So she continues racing. But then, in 2002, it gets really bad. Because she's over in Slovenia racing and doing her thing, and kaboom, she crashes again. The next year, in 2003, she crashes again and she ends up dislocating her shoulder again, and she also breaks her wrist. And by this point, Missy has been doing this extreme sport for a really long time. She's broken over 40 bones and suffered at least 10 concussions. So she finally decides that it's time to retire from this thing that she loves doing so much. But here's where things get really bad for her. Because it seems like Missy doesn't really have a post-race career plan mapped out. She doesn't really have a job anymore, so no steady income, no sponsorship deals. She doesn't even have health insurance. And to make it worse, she now has permanent damage from some of her injuries. She suffers from chronic headaches and seizures and pain that just never goes away. And, she smokes a little Zaza every now and then to help with that pain, but that's just not a permanent solution. So Missy ends up needing to make some money. And then one day in 2006, she finally gets an opportunity to make some. Because that's when she meets this guy, Eric. And Eric, he actually runs a successful business. And it's not a legal business. It consists of transporting and smuggling thousands of pounds of marijuana from growers in British Columbia all the way over to the East Coast. And his business does this on a regular basis. And Eric is thriving at this. At his peak, he's doing around $50 to $60 million a year in sales. Now, Eric, he doesn't drive all these shipments of drugs himself. He likes to hire drivers to do the transporting. So when he meets Missy, he thinks that she would be the perfect driver for him. Because she's got a great cover of being a former professional athlete. No one would ever suspect her of transporting large quantities of illegal drugs. So he offers her a job as a driver, where she would be driving a truck full of high-grade California Zaza across the country to the East Coast. And Missy thinks about it, and, she's broke, and she's in pain, and honestly, the job, it sounds kind of thrilling. So she's like, all right. So she gets to work. She starts making trips across the country, hauling hundreds of pounds of weed in a trailer attached to her truck. And on top of all that weed, she's got her racing gear, her mountain bike, and her dirt bike in there too. So that she just looks like a former pro athlete just traveling around with her racing stuff. And this actually works. She starts making money. She's making around $30,000 a run, which is not bad for a few days of driving. So she does it again, and again, and again, for years. And the operation keeps getting bigger and bigger. And now she's getting paid $60,000 a run. And a few more years go by, and it's now 2009. And by this point, Missy's logged thousands of miles driving around the country. And I don't know if she's tired of driving or if she just realizes that she could make more money doing it this way. But eventually, she brings in another person to make the drive for her. The other person is her friend, who we'll just call Friend. So Friend steps in and hauls the payload from California all the way over to New York. And there in New York, she meets up with Missy, and Missy handles the rest of the deal. And this works fine. So she asks Friend to drive a few more times. And having Friend drive the truck is actually a great deal for Missy, because Missy is getting paid $60,000 a trip still, but she's only paying Friend $3,000 of that. So all this is going well for her. She's making a lot of money, doing very little work, and it seems like she could just keep doing this forever. Until something terrible happens. While driving through Illinois, Friend gets pulled over for speeding. And I don't know exactly how it goes down, but pretty quickly, Friend starts telling the police everything. all about the 410 pounds of Zaza in the back of the truck, and that normally Missy is the driver, and that she's driven for Missy before, and I don't know if she knows who Eric is or not, but I'm sure she would tell the police about him too. So the police contact the DEA, and now the DEA is involved. And they end up coming up with a plan to put a GPS tracker in the wall of the trailer and let Friend drive the rest of the way to New York. That way, when she meets up with Missy, they can swoop in and make an arrest. And of course, to avoid serious prison time, Friend agrees to set up Missy. So Friend continues on the route. And a few days later, she makes it to New York. And she meets up with Missy just like normal. Then Missy takes the truck and trailer and she goes and meets up with Eric at his house, and they start unloading that trailer. And as they're unloading the trailer, boom, Eric notices the GPS tracker. The trailer's been bugged. And pretty quickly they realize they're fucked. I mean, Missy knows she has to run for her life. I imagine Eric does too. So Missy panics and she hops into the truck and skirt, she speeds away, still dragging the trailer behind her with most of the weed still in the back. But along the way, she finally realizes that the DEA, they can easily track her because the tracking device is still in the trailer. So she knows she's busted, and instead of continuing to run, she just says, fuck it. And she pulls over and she smokes a bit of Zaza, and then she just takes out a lounge chair and sits in it as she waits for the DEA agents to show up. And a bit later, they do. And so, bam, she's arrested. Here's her mugshot. And later, bam, they arrest Eric too. Here's his mugshot. And so ultimately, Missy takes a plea deal and she cooperates, and she's only sentenced to 6 months of time served. While Eric also takes a plea deal and he's sentenced to 30 months in prison.
Hey man, for the amount of money they were making, that's not bad. 6 months and 30 months, that's light. Would y'all take 30 months in prison for for over $60 million?
Thank you all for watching this here video.